Chapter 1. Rain fell like tears from a gray sky as Valentina Moretti stood at her brother Marco's grave. Her black dress clung to her skin, but she didn't bother with the umbrella her bodyguard tried to hold over her. Let the rain come. Let everyone see that even the daughter of Don Moretti could break. The priest's words faded into the background. All Valentina could focus on was the polished mahogany coffin being lowered into the ground. 27 years old. That's all Marco got. A random drive-by shooting, they said. Nothing random about it. Her father's hand gripped her shoulder. Don Antonio Moretti, his face a stone mask except for the rage burning in his eyes. It was them, he whispered, his voice rough from hours of silence. The Romanos. They will pay in blood for this. Valentina nodded, her throat too tight for words. The cemetery was filled with family members, associates, and men whose suit jackets bulged with hidden weapons. Protection that came too late for Marco. After the final prayers, people approached to offer condolences. Valentina accepted each handshake, each kiss on the cheek, each whispered "I'm sorry" with the grace expected of the Don's daughter. Her mask never slipped. Not in public. "You're so strong, just like your father," her uncle said, patting her hand. Strong? If she was strong, why had she been kept away from the family business? Why had Marco been groomed to take over while she was sent to business school to learn legitimate enterprises? 6 months earlier. Absolutely not. Don Moretti's fist came down on his desk. This is not a discussion, Valentina. She stood her ground in the middle of her father's study, arms crossed. I have a business degree. I speak 4 languages. I can help with the international shipping connections. You will help by running the charitable foundation and keeping our legitimate face clean. Her father softened his tone. It's what your mother would have wanted. Don't use mom against me. Valentina took a step forward. I'm not asking to run a crew or handle collections. I'm asking to use my brain for this family. Marco leaned against the bookshelf, watching the familiar argument with tired eyes. Val, it's not worth fighting about. Easy for you to say. You're in all the meetings. Her father rose, circling the desk to take her hands. You are too delicate for this life, Tesoro. Too good. Marco understands the necessary evils. The violence. You think I don't understand violence? She pulled her hands away. I grew up in this house. Behind bodyguards. I know what pays for my shoes. Don Moretti shook his head. Knowing is different from doing. From ordering. From living with the consequences. I'm stronger than you think. It's not about strength. A knock interrupted them. One of her father's men entered, whispering something urgent in his ear. Don Moretti's expression darkened. We'll finish this later. Marco, come with me. They left her standing alone in the study. Always left behind. Always protected. Always underestimated. Valentina walked to her father's desk, running her fingers over the polished wood where generations of Moretti men had made their decisions. She opened the top drawer, seeing the gun her father always kept there. I'll show you, she whispered to the empty room. I'll prove I belong. The last mourners finally left. The family estate felt hollow, echoing with grief and whispered plans for revenge. Valentina slipped away from the gathering in the main hall and made her way to Marco's office. She used the key he'd given her years ago, their secret. Her brother had always seen more in her than their father did. Inside, she locked the door and went straight to his computer. If the Romano family had ordered the hit, there would be signs. Marco kept records of everything. I'm going to find who did this to you, she promised, fingers flying over the keyboard. And then I'll make them pay. Her father thought her too delicate for the family business. Too soft. But Valentina had been learning in secret for years, from Marco, from overheard conversations, from quiet observation. Now, with her brother gone, something had hardened inside her. The Valentina who wore designer dresses to charity galas was still there, but beneath her skin, a new woman was emerging. One who would no longer be left behind. One who would find justice for Marco. One who would show them all what it meant to underestimate a Moretti woman. Chapter 2. Luca Romano cleaned his gun in the silence of his apartment, movements precise and methodical. The weapon came apart in his hands like it was an extension of himself. Clean. Oil. Reassemble. The ritual calmed his mind before a job. His phone vibrated on the table. Only 3 people had this number. Yes. Tonight. 7 o'clock. The voice belonged to Salvatore Romano, his uncle and acting head of the family. The restaurant on 54th. I'll be there. Luca ended the call, returning to his gun. He didn't need to ask what it was about. The Moretti hit had changed everything. The families had maintained an uneasy peace for years, but with Marco Moretti's death, war was coming. And wars needed soldiers. The private room at Bella Nate smelled of garlic and power. Salvatore Romano sat at the head of the table, flanked by his most trusted captains. Luca slipped in quietly, taking his place near the door. Always watching exits. Always prepared. Nephew. Salvatore nodded toward the empty chair at his right. Join us. Luca moved to the offered seat, ignoring the looks from the older men. At 32, he was younger than most at the table, but his reputation spoke for itself. Cold. Efficient. Loyal. Salvatore pushed a folder toward him. We have a job. Special. Inside was a photograph of a woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. Beautiful, in a dangerous way. Luca recognized her immediately. Valentina Moretti. Don Moretti's princess. Salvatore sipped his wine. And our way in. Luca studied the photo. You want me to kill her? No. Salvatore leaned forward. I want you to get close to her. Make her trust you. Through her, we get to her father. A long game. The best kind. Salvatore's smile didn't reach his eyes. You have the face for it. Women trust you. One of the captains snorted. Until they don't. Luca ignored the comment, flipping through the rest of the folder. Bank statements. Social media printouts. Weekly schedules. Someone had been watching her for a while. Why me? He asked, though he already knew. Salvatore's expression darkened. Because you have more reason to hate them than anyone. The table fell silent. Everyone knew about Luca's brother. About what the Morettis had done to him. Antonio Moretti gave the order, Salvatore continued. But his daughter is his weakness. You get to her, you get to him. Luca closed the folder. How far do I take it? As far as needed. Salvatore refilled his glass. Charm her. Seduce her. Make her fall in love if that's what it takes. But remember why you're doing this. As if he could forget. Luca's mind flashed to his brother's face. To finding him in that warehouse, beaten beyond recognition, left to die slowly. All because Antonio Moretti thought he had skimmed from a shipment. I'll do it. Luca stood. Send me everything you have on her. In his car, Luca reviewed the files on his tablet. Valentina Moretti, 25. Business degree from Columbia. Runs the Moretti Family Foundation, their legitimate charity front. Fluent in Italian, Spanish, French, and English. No criminal record. No known romantic relationships in the past year. Protected. Pampered. Powerful father. His perfect target. Luca scrolled through surveillance photos, Valentina at charity events, leaving restaurants, shopping with friends. Always with security nearby. Always smiling for the cameras. The perfect mafia princess, keeping her hands clean while standing on a fortune built with blood money. Did she know what her father had done? Did she care? It didn't matter. She was a Moretti. That was enough. He switched to the schedule. She visited a small coffee shop every Tuesday morning. Took a cycling class on Wednesdays and Fridays. Attended gallery openings, charity functions, family dinners at the same restaurant every Sunday. Habits. Weaknesses. Entry points. Lucas studied her face in the photos, memorizing the curve of her jaw, the way she held herself. Confident but guarded. He would need to find a way past those guards, both literal and figurative. His phone rang again. "I've set it up," Salvatore said without preamble. Small-time thug. Staged robbery on her way to the gym tomorrow. You'll be in the right place at the right time. Understood. And Luca? His uncle's voice hardened. Remember what they did to Nico. Remember how long he suffered before he died. As if he could forget. The image of his younger brother was burned into his memory, broken fingers, cigarette burns, eyes swollen shut. The Morettis hadn't just killed him. They'd made an example of him. I remember. Luca's voice went flat, emptied of emotion. I'll make them pay. All of them. He ended the call and looked again at Valentina's photo. She smiled back at him, unaware that her life was about to change. Unaware that the man who would enter it was there to destroy everything she loved. Just as her father had destroyed everything Luca loved. He tucked the tablet away and started the car. Time to prepare for tomorrow's chance meeting. Time to become whoever Valentina Moretti needed him to be. The hitman. The protector. The lover. Whatever role it took to get close enough to strike. Chapter 3. Valentina checked her watch as she left the cycling studio, annoyed at herself for dismissing her driver. The class had run late, and now she'd have to walk 3 blocks to the boutique where Tony, her bodyguard, waited. Her father would be furious if he knew she'd slipped her security detail, even for an hour. But Marco's death had tightened the chains around her. More bodyguards. More restrictions. More suffocation. She needed to breathe. The street was busy with midday shoppers. Valentina adjusted her gym bag and started walking, enjoying the momentary freedom. The spring air felt good against her flushed skin. She didn't notice the man following her until she turned down a quieter side street. His footsteps quickened. So did hers. "Hey, pretty lady." His voice was rough, too close behind her. "Nice bag you got there." Valentina didn't turn around. Her hand slipped into her pocket, fingers closing around the small canister of pepper spray. 3 more blocks to the boutique. She could make it. "I'm talking to you." A hand grabbed her shoulder, spinning her around. The man wore a hoodie pulled low, his face half hidden. But she could see the knife in his hand, glinting in the sunlight. "Give me the bag," he demanded. "And that fancy watch too." Valentina's heart hammered, but her voice remained steady. "You don't want to do this." "Oh yeah? Why's that?" "Because you have no idea who I am." She raised the pepper spray. Before she could use it, the man lunged for her bag. Valentina twisted away, but he caught her wrist, squeezing until she dropped the spray. Pain shot up her arm. "Let go of her." The new voice was calm, commanding. Valentina turned to see a man standing a few feet away. Tall. Dark hair. expensive suit that didn't quite hide the athletic build beneath. The mugger hesitated, knife still pointed at Valentina. "Mind your own business, man." "She is my business." The stranger stepped closer, his movements fluid, controlled. "Last chance. Walk away." Something in his tone made the mugger pause. Valentina felt the grip on her wrist loosen slightly. That was all she needed. She brought her knee up hard between the mugger's legs. He doubled over with a yelp, and she twisted free. The stranger moved in one smooth motion, disarming the mugger and shoving him against the wall. "Run," he advised the thief quietly. "Don't look back." The mugger didn't need to be told twice. He scrambled away, disappearing around the corner. Valentina rubbed her wrist, studying her unexpected savior as he turned to face her. Sharp cheekbones. Eyes too observant to be friendly. A mouth that looked like it rarely smiled. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "I had it under control." She bent to retrieve her pepper spray. "Clearly." His tone was dry, almost amused. Valentina straightened, defensive. "Who are you?" "Someone who doesn't like seeing women threatened in broad daylight." He offered his hand. "Luca Ricci." She didn't take it. "How convenient that you happened to be passing by." A slight smile touched his lips. "Suspicious by nature. Smart. Experience." She adjusted her bag. "Thank you for your help, Mr. Ricci, but—" "Luca," he corrected. "But my security is waiting for me." She stepped around him, head high. He fell into step beside her. "Security? Who needs that kind of protection?" "Someone with enemies." "And who might you be?" he asked, though something in his eyes made her think he already knew. She hesitated, then decided a name wouldn't hurt. "Valentina." "Just Valentina? Like Madonna or Cher?" Despite herself, she almost smiled. "For now, yes." They reached the main street, busier with shoppers and tourists. Safety in numbers. Valentina relaxed slightly. "Well, just Valentina, can I buy you a coffee? To calm the nerves after your ordeal." "My nerves are fine." She glanced at him sideways. "And I don't go for coffee with strangers." "I'm not a stranger. I'm your knight in shining armor." His tone was light, but his eyes remained sharp, assessing. "Knights usually don't wear Armani." "Times change." He matched her pace effortlessly. "How about dinner, then?" Valentina stopped walking. "Are you always this persistent?" "Only when something interests me." He held her gaze, challenge in his eyes. She should say no. Walk away. Find Tony and forget this encounter. But something about this man, Luca, intrigued her. The way he moved. The confidence that bordered on arrogance. The feeling that there was more beneath the surface. Before she could answer, a black SUV screeched to a halt beside them. The door flew open, and Tony leaped out, hand inside his jacket where his gun would be. "Ms. Moretti!" His face was a mask of worry and anger. "We've been looking everywhere." Luca's expression changed for just a split second, recognition, recalculation, before settling back into casual interest. "Moretti? As in late for an appointment." Valentina cut him off, turning toward the car. "Goodbye, Mr. Ricci." "Thank you again." "Luca," he corrected once more, his voice following her. "And I still owe you that coffee." She paused at the car door, looking back at him. "I don't recall accepting." "You will." The confidence in his voice should have been irritating. Instead, she felt a flutter of something dangerous. "Ms. Moretti," Tony insisted, scanning the street nervously. Valentina slid into the SUV, but not before catching Luca's final words. "I'll see you soon, Valentina Moretti." As the car pulled away, she found herself watching him through the tinted window. He stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching the SUV until it disappeared around the corner. "Who was that?" Tony asked, his tone suspicious. "Nobody," Valentina answered, but she knew it was a lie. Luca Ricci was somebody. The question was, who exactly? And why did she have the feeling their paths would cross again, soon? Chapter 4. You invited him where? Valentina stared at her father across his desk, certain she'd misheard. Don Moretti leaned back in his chair. To the Foundation Gala. Is that a problem? Him who? She kept her voice carefully neutral, though her heart had picked up speed. Luca Ricci. Her father studied her reaction. The man who helped you last week. Did you think I wouldn't find out about the incident? Of course Tony had reported everything. Nothing stayed private in this family. I handled it, Valentina said. Not according to my sources. Her father's eyes hardened. You were alone. Vulnerable. If this Ricci hadn't intervened. I had pepper spray. Against a knife. He shook his head. Regardless, I've looked into him. Businessman. Clean record. Seems to have money. I want to thank him properly. Valentina crossed her arms. By inviting him to our most high-profile event of the year? Is there a reason I shouldn't? Her father's gaze was too perceptive. Yes, she wanted to say. Because he makes me feel things I shouldn't. Because I can't read him. Because every instinct tells me he's dangerous. No reason, she said instead. I'll make sure he gets a good table. The ballroom of the Plaza Hotel glittered with chandeliers and the jewelry of New York's elite. The annual Moretti Foundation Gala raised millions for children's hospitals and laundered millions more of the family's money. Valentina moved through the crowd in a black gown that hugged her curves before flowing to the floor. She nodded at familiar faces, accepted compliments, directed waitstaff. The perfect hostess. But her eyes kept searching for one face in particular. She spotted him at the bar, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Their eyes met across the room. He raised his glass slightly, a silent acknowledgement. Valentina turned away, focusing on an elderly donor who wanted to discuss a new wing for the hospital. But she felt Luca's presence like a physical touch, tracking her movements. Later, as the orchestra played and couples filled the dance floor, she felt a tap on her shoulder. Ms. Moretti. His voice was low, meant only for her ears. You've been avoiding me. Valentina turned to face him. Luca in a tuxedo was even more devastating than Luca in an Armani suit. His dark hair was swept back, his jaw freshly shaved. He smelled like sandalwood and something uniquely him. I've been working, she corrected. This is my event. And beautifully executed. He glanced around the ballroom. Your father must be proud. My father is talking business in a back room. She nodded toward the exit where 2 guards stood. The foundation is just window dressing. Luca raised an eyebrow. Cynical. Realistic. She met his gaze directly. Why are you here, Mr. Ricci? Your father invited me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. And I thought I told you to call me Luca. I make it a point not to get familiar with men I don't know. Then get to know me. He held out his hand. Dance with me, Valentina. She should refuse. Should walk away. Should do anything but put her hand in his. But she was tired of doing what she should. His hand was warm, enveloping hers as he led her to the dance floor. One arm slid around her waist, holding her at a respectable distance that somehow felt intimately close. You move well, she observed as they began to waltz. So do you. His eyes never left hers. But you're holding back. What makes you say that? The way you watch the room even as we dance. The way you maintain perfect posture. His hand pressed slightly firmer against her lower back. The way you keep this careful distance between us. Maybe I just don't like you that much, she countered, though heat crept up her neck. He laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. Maybe. Or maybe you like me too much, and that scares you. You don't scare me. I should. His expression sobered. I'm not a good man, Valentina. Something in his tone made her believe him. Made her want to step back. Instead, she found herself leaning closer. Then why are you here? In my world? His eyes darkened. Maybe I want to be better. The music swelled around them. They moved together, bodies in perfect sync. For the first time since Marco's death, Valentina felt something other than grief and rage. Something dangerous and electric. What do you really do, Luca Ricci? She asked softly. Import-export. Consulting. His smile didn't reach his eyes. The boring stuff that pays for custom tuxedos. Liar. His hand tightened slightly on hers. Everyone lies, Valentina. Even you. Before she could respond, a commotion near the entrance caught her attention. Her father had emerged from his meeting, flanked by his captains. Their faces were grim. Excuse me, she said, pulling away from Luca's embrace. I need to check on something. He released her reluctantly. I'll be here. Valentina hurried across the ballroom, intercepting her father before he could leave. What's happened? She asked quietly. Don Moretti's face was ashen. Nothing for you to worry about. Dad. He sighed, taking her arm and leading her to a quiet corner. We found one of our warehouses hit. Men dead. Shipment gone. The Romanos? Who else? His grip tightened. But now is not the time. Go back to your guests. Valentina watched him leave, trailed by his security team. More violence. More retaliation. The cycle continuing. When she turned back to the dance floor, Luca was watching her, his expression unreadable. He lifted his champagne glass in another silent toast. Across the room, Elena, her closest friend since childhood, caught her eye and motioned her over. Who is that? Elena whispered when Valentina joined her. The guy you were dancing with? He hasn't taken his eyes off you all night. Valentina glanced back to where Luca stood, still watching her with that intense gaze. I'm not sure, she admitted. But I think he's trouble. The best kind, Elena teased. So? Do you want to kiss him or kill him? Valentina laughed, but it sounded hollow even to her own ears. That's the problem, she confessed, meeting Luca's gaze across the crowded room. I don't know if I want to kiss him or kill him. The corner of his mouth lifted, as if he had somehow heard her. As if he was thinking exactly the same thing. Chapter 5. 2 weeks after the gala, Valentina found herself in the strange position of seeing Luca Ricci everywhere. At her favorite restaurant. At an art gallery opening. At the coffee shop where she sometimes worked. Coincidences, he claimed. Fate, he suggested with that half-smile that made her stomach flip. Lies, she suspected, but couldn't prove. Today, he'd appeared at the foundation office, bringing lunch since he was in the neighborhood. Now they sat across from each other at her desk, takeout containers between them. Your security doesn't like me, Luca observed, nodding toward Tony, who watched them through the glass wall of her office. Tony doesn't like anyone. Valentina picked at her salad. It's his job not to like people. And what about you? Luca leaned forward. Do you like me yet? The question hung between them, loaded with everything unsaid. The chemistry they both felt. The way his gaze lingered too long. The fact that neither of them was being completely honest. I'm still deciding, she answered finally. Luca smiled. Fair enough. My father likes you, she added, watching his reaction. A flicker of something, satisfaction? Guilt, crossed his face before disappearing. I'm honored. Don Moretti isn't known for liking many people either. He's invited you to dinner on Sunday. Valentina set down her fork. At our home. Luca's eyes widened slightly. Sunday dinner? Isn't that family only? Exactly. And you're telling me this because I want to know why. She held his gaze. Why is my father so interested in you? What game are you playing, Luca? He set down his own fork, expression serious. No game. I'm interested in you, Valentina. Is that so hard to believe? Yes. She didn't hesitate. Men like you don't pursue women like me without a reason. Men like me? Dangerous men. His eyebrow arched. If I'm dangerous, why keep letting me near you? Because you make me feel alive, she thought. Because since Marco died, everything has been numb, except when you're around. Instead, she said, consider it professional curiosity. Luca laughed. Is that what we're calling it now? What would you call it? His smile faded, replaced by something more intense. Attraction. Chemistry. The kind that burns hot enough to be dangerous for both of us. Heat crawled up her neck. You're very sure of yourself. No. He leaned closer across the desk. I'm very sure of what I see when you look at me. The same thing you see when I look at you. Before she could respond, her assistant knocked and entered. Sorry to interrupt, Ms. Moretti, but your 3 o'clock is here. Thank you, Jessica. Valentina straightened, grateful for the interruption. I'll be right out. When her assistant left, Luca stood. Sunday dinner, then? 7 o'clock. Don't be late. I wouldn't dream of it. He gathered the takeout containers. Oh, and Valentina? Wear something blue. It suits your eyes. She watched him leave, exchanging cool nods with Tony on his way out. Only when the door closed behind him did she release the breath she'd been holding. What was she doing, letting this man get so close? A man she knew nothing about, except that he made her pulse race and her judgment cloudy. A man her father had inexplicably taken an interest in. Something didn't add up. And Valentina intended to find out what. The Moretti estate sat on 2 acres in the suburbs, a sprawling mansion surrounded by gardens and a perimeter wall topped with security cameras. To the outside world, it was the home of a successful businessman. To those who knew better, it was a fortress. Valentina sat at her vanity, applying a final touch of lipstick. She'd chosen a navy blue dress, though she told herself it had nothing to do with Luca's suggestion. A knock at her bedroom door pulled her from her thoughts. Come in. Her father entered, dressed for dinner in a tailored suit. He looked older since Marco's death. Harder. You look beautiful, he said, kissing her cheek. Your mother's earrings? Valentina touched the diamond drops. For luck. You don't need luck. He sat on the edge of her bed. But perhaps our guest does. Why did you invite him, Dad? She asked directly. The truth. Don Moretti considered her question. I'm curious about him. A man appears from nowhere, saves my daughter, and suddenly seems to be everywhere she is? I want to know his intentions. So do I, she admitted. And? Her father's eyes were shrewd. What do you think of him? Valentina chose her words carefully. I think he's hiding something. We all hide something, tesoro. He patted her hand. The question is whether what he's hiding will hurt you. That's what I intend to find out tonight. After her father left, Valentina sat for a moment longer at her vanity. He was right to be suspicious. Luca Ricci had appeared in her life too conveniently, had gotten close too quickly. Yet she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. The way her skin tingled when he was near. The way his eyes seemed to see through her carefully constructed walls. Her phone chimed with a text. Elena. * good luck tonight. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which leaves your options wide open. Face blowing a kiss *. Valentina smiled, typing back a quick reply. She needed to be careful around Luca, yes. But maybe, just maybe, she could allow herself this one dangerous attraction. As she stood to leave, her maid appeared in the doorway. Ms. Moretti, this came for you. She held out a cream-colored envelope. Hand-delivered to the gate a few minutes ago. Thank you, Maria. Valentina took the envelope, noting there was no name on the outside. Alone again, she opened it and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The message was typed, no signature. The man you just let into your world killed your brother. Her blood turned to ice. She read the words again, certain she'd misunderstood. But the message remained unchanged. The man you just let into your world killed your brother. Luca? It couldn't be. He'd been nowhere near Marco when he was shot. He couldn't have. But what did she really know about him? About his past? About why he'd appeared in her life so suddenly after Marco's death? The doorbell rang downstairs. Valentina's hands trembled as she folded the note and slipped it into her clutch. She made her way down the grand staircase, legs unsteady beneath her. In the foyer, she could hear her father's deep voice, and then Luca's in response. When she entered the living room, both men turned to look at her. Her father, proud and watchful. And Luca, devastating in a dark suit, his eyes warming at the sight of her. The man you just let into your world killed your brother. Valentina. Luca stepped forward, taking her hand and pressing his lips to her knuckles. You look breathtaking. She forced herself to breathe, to keep her expression neutral. To not pull her hand away as if burned. You're punctual, she managed. I appreciate that in a guest. Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing the change in her. But he only smiled. I've been looking forward to this all week. From across the room, her father watched their interaction with calculating eyes. Valentina took her hand back, moving to the bar to pour herself a drink. Her mind raced. Was the note true? A lie? A manipulation from someone who wanted to drive a wedge between her and Luca? Or had she invited her brother's killer into their home? She turned, glass in hand, to find Luca watching her intently from across the room. As their eyes met, he smiled at her, that same slow, confident smile that had first caught her attention. The smile of a man with nothing to hide. Or the smile of a man who is very, very good at hiding everything. Chapter 6. Dinner at the Moretti house passed in a blur for Valentina. She smiled. She laughed. She played her part perfectly while the note burned in her clutch like a live coal. The man you just let into your world killed your brother. Luca charmed her father with talk of business opportunities and European wines. He complimented her mother's memory when shown her portrait in the dining room. He even won over their elderly housekeeper with respectful attention. A perfect performance. Or was it? You're quiet tonight, Luca murmured as they stepped onto the terrace after dinner. Her father had excused himself to take a call, leaving them alone. Am I? Valentina leaned against the stone balustrade, keeping space between them. I suppose I have a lot on my mind. Share it with me. He moved closer, his cologne wrapping around her like a spell. She studied him in the moonlight. Strong jaw. Intense eyes. Hands that moved with controlled grace. Nothing about him screamed killer, but then, the best ones never did. "Why are you really here, Luca?" she asked quietly. His smile faltered. "I told you. I'm interested in you." "Is that all? Isn't that enough?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Not when it comes so suddenly. Not when it follows my brother's murder." She watched his reaction carefully. A tightening around the eyes. A subtle shift in posture. "I'm sorry about your brother," he said after a moment. "But what does that have to do with us?" Valentina forced a smile. "Nothing, I hope. Just a suspicious mind." "Suspicion is healthy in your world." His eyes never left hers. "But don't let it blind you to what's real." "And what's real, Luca?" He stepped closer, erasing the distance between them. "This." His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. The touch sent electricity down her spine. She should push him away. Should demand answers. Should remember the note. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. "I don't trust you," she whispered. "Smart girl." His lips hovered just above hers. "But do you want me?" "Yes." God help her, yes. The sound of the terrace door opening broke the moment. Valentina stepped back as her father rejoined them, his face grim. "I apologize for the interruption," Don Moretti said, though his eyes were calculating as they moved between her and Luca. "Business never sleeps." "Of course." Luca's mask slipped back into place, the intensity of moments before hidden beneath charm. "I should be going anyway. Thank you for a wonderful evening." "I'll walk you out," Valentina offered, needing answers more than ever. At the front door, away from her father's watchful eyes, Luca took her hand. "Think about what I said. About what's real. And what if everything is a lie?" she challenged. His smile turned sad. "Not everything, Valentina. Not this." He pressed his lips to her forehead, a touch so gentle it made her doubt everything. Then he was gone, disappearing into the night in his sleek black car. Valentina closed the door, her mind racing. She needed to know the truth. Her father's office was silent at 2 a.m. Valentina moved quietly, using the key she'd stolen from his desk years ago. She'd never had reason to sneak in before. Now she had every reason. She booted up his computer, grateful he still used her birthday as his password. Sentimental, for a man who ordered hits. If Luca was connected to Marco's death, her father would know. He investigated everyone who came near the family. Especially someone like Luca, who had appeared so conveniently in her life. The files were organized by business type, but Valentina knew where to look. Under personal, she found a folder labeled V Interests. Inside, dossiers on men who'd shown interest in her over the years. Men her father had investigated, threatened, sometimes ruined. And there he was. Ricci, L. She clicked, heart pounding. The file opened to reveal almost nothing. A background check showing a clean record. A business profile that looked legitimate but shallow. Property records for a penthouse apartment and an office building. No connection to Marco. No criminal ties. No red flags. Which was, itself, a red flag. Nobody was this clean. Not in New York. Not in business. Valentina dug deeper, searching other folders. Nothing under enemies. Nothing under Romano family. She was about to give up when she noticed a folder simply labeled M. Marco's folder. She opened it, scrolling through investigations into his death. Suspects. Theories. And there, buried in a subfolder, a surveillance photo from the day of the shooting. The quality was poor, but she could make out the street where Marco had been killed. The black SUV with tinted windows. And standing on the corner, almost out of frame, a man who looked eerily like Luca. Valentina's blood froze. She downloaded the file to her phone, then carefully erased her tracks from the computer. Back in her room, she stared at the enlarged photo. The man's face was mostly shadowed, but the profile, the stance, it could be him. Or it could be someone else entirely. She needed more. More proof. More information. She opened her laptop and typed Luca Ricci into the search bar. Pages of results. Business listings. Social media profiles. All looking perfectly legitimate. Too perfect. Like a life built from scratch. She tried another search, Romano family New York. Articles about organized crime. Old news reports. Family trees of known mafia connections. And there, in a blurry photo from 10 years ago, a teenage boy identified as Luca Romano, son of underboss Matteo Romano. The boy's face was partially turned away, but the resemblance was unmistakable. Luca Ricci was Luca Romano. From the family her father blamed for Marco's death. Valentina closed her laptop, mind spinning. The note was right. But not in the way she'd thought. Luca hadn't pulled the trigger, but he was part of the family who had. And he'd infiltrated her life, her home, her heart with calculated precision. The question was why? Revenge? Information? To get close to her father? Whatever the reason, two could play this game. Valentina picked up her phone and texted Luca, thinking about what's real. Dinner tomorrow? My place this time, . His response came seconds later, I'll be there. She set down the phone, face hardening with resolve. If Luca Romano wanted to play with fire, she would make sure he got burned. Chapter 7. Absolutely not. Valentina crossed her arms, staring at her father across his desk. I don't need a babysitter in Miami. Don Moretti's expression remained impassive. It's not babysitting. It's an opportunity for both of you. The Alvarez family respects women in business, but they're traditional. Having a man with you will smooth things. Then send Tony. Tony is security. Luca Ricci is a businessman who speaks their language. Her father leaned forward. This hotel deal could legitimize a significant portion of our operations. I need it done right. Valentina bit back her frustration. The Miami trip had been her project for months. Her chance to prove her value beyond charity galas and foundation work. Now her father wanted to send Luca with her, the man she was secretly investigating. The man who was lying to them all. Fine, she conceded, seeing no way out. But I'm in charge. He follows my lead. Her father smiled. Of course, tesoro. It's your deal. But they both knew it was a test. Of her business skills. Of her judgment. And perhaps, of Luca himself. Miami? Luca's voice carried clearly through the phone. That's unexpected. Valentina paced her bedroom, phone pressed to her ear. My father thinks you can help with the Alvarez negotiations. And what do you think? I think you're getting exactly what you want. She kept her voice neutral, giving nothing away. Access to our business. His laugh warmed her ear. I'm getting far more than that, Valentina. The intimacy in his tone sent an unwelcome shiver down her spine. She'd spent 3 nights having dinner with him, playing her part, feigning growing attraction while searching for proof of his deception. The problem was, the attraction wasn't entirely feigned. The flight leaves tomorrow at 9, she said briskly. Don't be late. The Alvarez family owned half of Miami's legitimate luxury hotels and most of its illegitimate gambling operations. The deal, on paper, was to develop a new beachfront property. What it really secured was shipping routes through the port. Their private jet landed in the afternoon heat. A sleek town car waited on the tarmac. "You've done this before," Luca observed as they settled into the backseat. "I've been doing this my whole life." Valentina kept her eyes on her tablet, reviewing notes. "Just because my father keeps me on the sidelines doesn't mean I haven't been paying attention." "He underestimates you." She glanced up, surprised by his insight. "Most men do." "I don't." His eyes held hers for a beat too long. The driver cleared his throat. "There's been a change of plans, Ms. Moretti. Mr. Alvarez would like to meet tonight. At his estate." Valentina frowned. The meeting was scheduled for tomorrow. His daughter's quinceañera is tomorrow. He apologizes for the short notice. She caught Luca's eye. This wasn't normal business procedure. "We'll be ready," she decided. "Take us to the hotel first." The Mandarin Oriental suite offered a stunning view of Biscayne Bay, but it came with an unexpected complication. "One bedroom?" Valentina stared at the king-sized bed dominating the space. The concierge bowed slightly. "The presidential suite, as requested by Mr. Moretti." "Shall I show you the features?" Luca stepped in smoothly. "That won't be necessary. Thank you." When they were alone, Valentina rounded on him. "Did you arrange this?" "Believe it or not, I didn't." He set down his bag. "But it makes sense from your father's perspective. We're meant to look like a couple in love. Business partners who happen to be sleeping together. And why would that help negotiations? Because Miguel Alvarez respects family men. Men with attachments." Luca moved to the bar, pouring 2 glasses of the waiting champagne. "Your father is setting a stage." Valentina accepted the glass, mind racing. Her father was testing them both. Setting a trap within a trap. "I'll take the couch," Luca offered, surprisingly gentlemanly for a man who'd killed, or whose family had killed, her brother. "We need to get ready." She checked her watch. "The car will be back in an hour." The Alvarez estate sprawled across 5 acres of Miami waterfront. Security was tight, men with barely concealed weapons, cameras tracking every movement. Miguel Alvarez greeted them on the terrace, a Cuban cigar between his fingers. He was older than Valentina remembered, silver threading through his dark hair. "La bella Valentina." He kissed her cheeks. "Just like your mother. And this must be your Luca." "Mr. Alvarez." Luca shook his hand firmly. "A pleasure." Alvarez studied him with shrewd eyes. "You're not what I expected from Antonio Moretti. You have a different look about you." Valentina tensed. Could he recognize Luca as a Romano? The families had dealings across the country. But Luca just smiled easily. "I hope that's a good thing." "We'll see." Alvarez gestured them toward a table set for dinner. "Business is for tomorrow. Tonight, we get to know each other." Dinner lasted 3 hours. Course after course of exquisite food, paired with probing questions and subtle tests. Valentina answered precisely, showcasing her knowledge of both the hotel industry and the family business. Luca played his part perfectly, attentive, intelligent, his hand occasionally covering hers in a show of intimacy that felt too natural. "How did you two meet?" Alvarez's wife asked over dessert. "He saved me from a mugger," Valentina answered truthfully, eyes meeting Luca's. "Very heroic. I saw something worth protecting." Luca's voice dropped lower, his thumb tracing circles on her wrist. Her skin tingled traitorously at his touch. Even knowing who he was, what he was, her body responded to him. Later, as they toured Alvarez's art collection, the men fell into conversation about European painters. Alvarez's wife pulled Valentina aside. "He's dangerous, your man," the older woman said quietly. "I know the type. But he looks at you like you're his salvation." Valentina managed a smile. "We're still getting to know each other. Be careful, Nina. Men like that bring storms with them." The car ride back to the hotel was silent, both of them processing the evening. Valentina kicked off her heels the moment they entered the suite, heading straight for the bar. "That went well," Luca observed, loosening his tie. "Alvarez likes you. I've known him since I was a child." She poured herself a whiskey, neat. "He was at my quinceañera. So this deal, it's personal for him?" She turned, studying Luca carefully. Always fishing for information. Always working his angle. "Everything in this business is personal. Didn't your family teach you that, Luca Romano?" The glass froze halfway to his lips. His eyes sharpened, all pretense dropping away. "What did you say?" Valentina's heart pounded, but she kept her expression neutral. "You heard me." He set down his glass slowly. "How long have you known?" "Long enough." She moved toward the bedroom, putting distance between them. "Don't worry. If I'd told my father, you'd already be dead." Luca followed, catching her arm. "Valentina. Don't." She jerked away. "Whatever lie you're about to tell, save it." His expression hardened. "Not everything has been a lie." "No?" "Then tell me the truth." She stepped closer, challenging him. "Did your family kill my brother?" "I don't know." His answer surprised her with its honesty. "But your father killed mine. And my younger brother." The pain in his voice sounded genuine. But Valentina knew better than to trust a Romano. "So this is revenge." She laughed bitterly. "Get close to the daughter, then what? Kill me? Kill my father? It's more complicated than that. It always is." She turned away, suddenly exhausted. "I'm going to bed. Try not to murder me in my sleep." His hand caught hers again, stronger this time. "I would never hurt you." Valentina looked up at him, at the intensity in his eyes, the tension in his jaw. So close she could feel his breath on her face. "You already have." For a moment, neither moved. The air between them charged with anger, betrayal, and something else, something neither wanted to name. Then Luca stepped back, releasing her hand. "We should both get some sleep. Tomorrow's meeting is important." Valentina retreated to the bedroom, locking the door behind her. She leaned against it, heart racing, unsure if the lock was to keep him out or to keep herself from letting him in. Chapter 8b. Dawn found Valentina on the suite's balcony, coffee in hand, Miami spread before her like a postcard. She hadn't slept. How could she, with the enemy on the other side of the door? The enemy who made her pulse race. The enemy who looked at her like she was his personal salvation and damnation rolled into one. Behind her, the balcony door slid open. Luca stepped out, already dressed in a crisp suit, his own coffee in hand. "You're up early," he observed. "Never went to sleep." She didn't look at him. He sighed, leaning against the railing beside her. "We have a meeting in 3 hours." "I know. And we need to present a united front." "I know that too." Finally, she turned to face him. "I can play pretend, Luca. I've been doing it my whole life." His eyes searched hers. "Is that what we're doing? Pretending?" Before she could answer, her phone rang. Her father. "I need to take this," she said, stepping past him into the suite. Luca watched her go, his face unreadable. Good morning, Dad. Valentina kept her voice light, betraying none of the turmoil inside. How did it go with Alvarez? Don Moretti asked without preamble. Fine. He likes the proposal. We're meeting about specifics this morning. And Ricci? Is he being useful? Valentina glanced at Luca on the balcony, his back to her, shoulders tense. Very. His Spanish is better than mine. Good. Her father paused. Has he tried anything with you? Nothing I didn't allow. The half-truth slipped out easily. Careful, Valentina. Men have motives. If only he knew how right he was. I'll call you after the meeting, she promised, ending the call. Luca turned as she stepped back onto the balcony. Your father checking up on us? On me. She set down her phone. Now, should we discuss how we're going to handle today's meeting, or are we going to pretend last night's revelation didn't happen? His jaw tightened. What do you want to know? The truth. All of it. We don't have time for all of it. He checked his watch. The abbreviated version? Your father ordered my younger brother killed 3 years ago. Torture, not just a clean hit. My father went after yours in retaliation. Got himself killed. Then your brother died in what seemed like payback from our side. But you don't know if your family did it, she clarified. My uncle runs things now. He doesn't tell me everything. Luca's eyes were cold. But it fit the pattern. Valentina processed this. And you're here to what? Complete the circle? Take me out to hurt my father? That was the original plan. His bluntness shocked her. Get close to you. Learn family secrets. Find weaknesses. And now? His expression softened fractionally. Now I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Their eyes locked, the tension between them shifting into something different. Something dangerous. Valentina broke first. We have a meeting to prepare for. We'll deal with this after. The Alvarez headquarters occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown high-rise. Valentina led the way into the conference room, Luca at her side, both pretending nothing had changed. The meeting progressed smoothly. Numbers. Terms. Shipping details disguised as construction timelines. Miguel Alvarez seemed pleased with their presentation, particularly the financial projections Valentina had prepared. Your father taught you well, he commented. Actually, he didn't teach me at all, Valentina replied calmly. I learned by watching. Listening. Finding my own way in. Alvarez smiled appreciatively. Even better. As they wrapped up, Alvarez's security chief whispered something in his ear. The older man frowned. A small matter requires my attention. Please, enjoy some refreshments. I'll return shortly. Once alone, Valentina turned to Luca. Something's off. I know. His eyes scanned the room for listening devices. We should. The door opened, but it wasn't Alvarez who entered. It was Carlo Vannucci, her father's capo, the man who handled the messiest parts of the Moretti business. Carlo? Valentina stood. What are you doing here? Your father sent me to help with negotiations. Carlo's smile didn't reach his eyes. And to check on our new friend. His gaze settled on Luca, cold and assessing. Luca met it without flinching. The negotiations are handled, Valentina stated firmly. And I don't need checking on. Not according to your father. Carlo sat uninvited. He's concerned about Mr. Ricci's influence. The air in the room thickened with unstated threats. Valentina felt Luca tense beside her, readying himself. My father trusts my judgment, she countered. Your father trusts no one. Carlo's smile widened. Which is why he asked me to look into our new associate more thoroughly. Luca's hand found hers under the table, a silent warning. And? Valentina kept her voice steady. And I found some interesting connections. Carlo's eyes never left Luca. To the Romano family. The room went still. Valentina's mind raced. If Carlo knew, did her father? That's absurd, she said, buying time. Luca is exactly who he says he is, a new voice interrupted. Miguel Alvarez stood in the doorway, his expression grave. Mr. Vanecci, I don't recall inviting you to this meeting. Alvarez stepped into the room, security personnel visible behind him. In fact, I believe you arrived in Miami without informing me at all. Bad manners. Carlo stood slowly. This is Moretti business. On Alvarez territory. The older man's voice hardened. That makes it my business. Valentina watched the standoff, calculating. Carlo wouldn't back down easily, and if he reported to her father that Luca was a Romano, bullets would fly. Carlo, she spoke up, there's been a misunderstanding. Whatever information you have is incorrect. Is it? Carlo's hand moved toward his jacket. Because I have proof right here. Photos. Records. Luca tensed, ready to move. But before anyone could react, Alvarez snapped his fingers. 2 security men flanked Carlo. No weapons in my conference room, Alvarez said mildly. House rules. Carlo glared but complied as the men patted him down, removing his gun. Now, Alvarez continued, I suggest we all take a moment to cool down. Mr. Vanecci, my men will escort you to the lobby. Ms. Moretti and Mr. Ricci will remain to finish our discussion. Valentina, Carlo hissed as he was led out, your father will hear about this. When the door closed behind him, Alvarez turned to them with raised eyebrows. It seems I'm hosting more drama than I expected today. I apologize, Valentina began, but Alvarez waved her off. Family business is always complicated. He studied Luca. Romano, eh? Luca didn't deny it. Does that change our deal? Not if it doesn't change yours. Alvarez looked between them. But I suggest you two figure out where your loyalties lie. Quickly. After finalizing the agreement, they left the building through a private exit, avoiding the lobby where Carlo might be waiting. We have a problem, Luca stated the obvious as they slid into their town car. Several. Valentina's mind worked furiously. Carlo will tell my father. We need to get back to New York. Your father will kill me on sight. Not if I can prove you're not the enemy. She met his eyes. Or at least, not the only enemy. What are you talking about? Valentina pulled out her phone, scrolling to a photo she'd found on her father's computer. This is from 3 years ago. The warehouse where your brother was killed. Luca flinched, but looked at the image, a security camera still of a man entering the building. That's Carlo, he said, voice tight. He was there? He wasn't just there. According to financial records I found in my father's files, he paid for the hit himself. Valentina watched Luca's face as the implications sank in. My father covered it up afterward, but he didn't give the original order. Luca's expression darkened with rage and confusion. Why would Carlo? Your brother knew something. Something worth killing for. She took back the phone. We need to find out what before Carlo silences us both. For a long moment, Luca just stared at her. Why are you showing me this? Why help me? Valentina looked out the window as Miami passed by in a blur of sunlight and shadows. The truth was complicated. Dangerous. Because I'm tired of being a pawn in their game, she finally said. Because Marco deserves justice. And because I need to know who I can trust. His hand found hers, warm and solid. For what it's worth, right now, you can trust me. She turned back to him, searching his eyes for deception but finding only determination and something else. Something that made her heart beat faster despite everything. Then let's find the truth, she said. Together. Chapter 9. The flight back to New York was tense, both of them lost in their own thoughts. Valentina had called her father, spinning a careful tale about Carlo overstepping, making false accusations to grab power. Don Moretti had seemed to accept her explanation, but Carlo would tell his own version soon enough. They had maybe 24 hours before everything exploded. We need somewhere safe to regroup, Luca said as their car left the airport. My place is compromised if Carlo knows who I am. So is mine. Valentina stared out the window at the New York skyline. But there's somewhere else we can go. Club Rosso occupied the top floor of a nondescript building in the meatpacking district. By day, it was a high-end restaurant. By night, a private club where the city's elite rubbed shoulders with the underworld. It also housed one of Marco's secret apartments, connected to the club by a private elevator. A place only Valentina knew about. Are you sure this is safe? Luca asked as they slipped through the kitchen entrance. Marco owned this place off the books. Not even my father knows about the apartment upstairs. She led him through a maze of corridors. We can access security footage from here, check if anyone's looking for us. The apartment was just as Marco had left it, sleek, minimal, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Valentina moved immediately to a hidden panel, revealing a security system. The club cameras, she explained, bringing the feeds up on a screen. And these are from around the building. Lucas stepped closer, scanning the monitors. No suspicious vehicles. No one following us, it seems. For now. She opened a safe behind a painting, pulling out a small handgun. Marco kept this place stocked for emergencies. Luca raised an eyebrow. You sure know your way around here. Marco and I were close. He told me things. She checked the gun's magazine. He was preparing me to take over someday, despite what my father wanted. You would have been good at it. She looked up, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. How would you know? I've seen you work. In Miami with Alvarez. The Foundation. You understand power better than most men in this business. His eyes held hers. Including your father. A compliment from the enemy. Yet it warmed something inside her that had been cold since Marco's death. We need to figure out what Carlo is hiding, she said, refocusing. What your brother knew that got him killed. Nico was just a kid. Luca's voice roughened. 22. College student. He did occasional runs for the family, but nothing major. Until his last one. Valentina opened her laptop. What was he doing when he disappeared? Pick up at the docks. Routine. Luca paced the room. But he called me that night, said something felt off. I told him to finish the job and get out. The self-loathing in his voice was unmistakable. It wasn't your fault, she said quietly. Wasn't it? His eyes met hers, raw with pain. I should have gone myself. I should have pulled him out. Valentina understood that kind of guilt all too well. The weight of survival when others didn't. We can't change the past, she said. But we can find the truth. They spent hours digging through files, hacking into accounts, piecing together fragments. Marco's computer yielded shipping manifests. Cargo that didn't match official records. Names connected to Carlo rather than Don Moretti. Carlo was running his own operation, Valentina realized, staring at the screen. Using our family resources, our connections, but keeping the profits. And Nico stumbled onto it. Luca leaned over her shoulder, his breath warm against her neck. The pickup that night, it wasn't family business. It was Carlo's. Which means Marco might have found out too. Her voice caught. If he was investigating Carlo's side deals. Luca's hand covered hers. We'll find proof. Their eyes met, faces close, the shared mission creating an intimacy neither had expected. For a moment, it didn't matter that he was a Romano and she was a Moretti. They were just two people seeking justice for those they'd lost. A noise from the security monitor broke the moment. Valentina turned to see a group of men entering the club through the kitchen, the same way they had come in. Carlo's men, she said, recognizing two of them. How did they find us? Luca moved to the window, scanning the street below. More outside. We're surrounded. There's a service elevator. She grabbed her gun and a flash drive with their evidence. We can get out through the basement. As they moved toward the door, gunshots echoed from the club below. Screams followed. The music cut off. They're not even trying to be subtle, Luca muttered, drawing his own weapon. This isn't a capture mission. It's a hit. The stairs. Valentina led him to a hidden door behind a bookcase. Marco built in escape routes. They descended quickly, the stairwell dark except for emergency lights. More gunshots above them, closer now. They'd found the apartment. At the bottom of the stairs, Valentina pushed open a door to the club's main floor. The space was in chaos, patrons cowering under tables, bouncers with guns drawn, Carlo's men advancing through the crowd. We need to cross to that exit, she whispered, pointing to a fire door across the dance floor. Stay low. They moved behind the bar, using the confusion as cover. Halfway across, someone shouted. There they are! Bullets splintered the bar top above them. Valentina ducked, heart pounding. I'll draw their fire, Luca said, eyes intense. You run for the exit. What? No. Valentina. He gripped her shoulders. This is my fight too. Trust me. Before she could protest, he rose, firing 2 precise shots that took down the nearest gunman. The others turned toward him, attention diverted from her. She should run. Should save herself. It was the smart play. Instead, she rose beside him, her own gun steady. I'm not leaving you. Surprise flashed across his face, followed by something warmer. Together, they fired, creating a path toward the exit. A bullet grazed Luca's arm. He barely flinched, pushing Valentina behind an overturned table as he returned fire. So much for trust, she muttered, tearing a strip from her silk blouse to bind his wound. I trusted you to run, he shot back, wincing as she tied the makeshift bandage. Then you don't know me very well. His eyes locked with hers. I'm learning. More men burst through the main entrance. They were running out of time. Cover me, Valentina said, spotting a chance. When Luca fired, creating a distraction, she darted to a control panel on the wall. The club plunged into darkness, emergency strobes the only illumination. In the confusion, they made it to the exit, slipping into the service corridor beyond. This way. She pulled him toward the garage exit. There's a car we can use. They emerged into the night, the sound of sirens approaching. Valentina located the key in a hidden box, unlocking a nondescript sedan. You drive, she ordered, tossing him the keys. I need to make a call. As Luca sped through the city streets, she dialed a number she rarely used. Uncle Salvatore, she said when a gruff voice answered. It's time we talked. Luca's head snapped toward her, eyes wide with shock. Yes, she continued, holding his gaze. I'm with your nephew. And we have information you're going to want to hear. When she hung up, Luca stared at her like he'd never seen her before. You just called my uncle. The head of the Romano family. Desperate times. She slipped her phone away. Carlo tried to kill us both. My father might already believe his lies. We need allies. And you think the Romanos will be that? I think they'll listen when we tell them Carlo Vannucci killed Nico. And Marco. Her voice hardened. Family avenges family. Isn't that how it works? Luca's expression shifted, admiration mixing with wariness. You'd turn against your own blood? Carlo isn't my blood. She looked out at the city passing by. And my father will have to choose sides when he learns the truth. They drove in silence for several blocks before Luca spoke again. You saved my life back there. Valentina turned to him. You saved mine first. Why? The question hung between them, loaded with everything unsaid. She could lie. Could claim strategic advantage. Self-preservation. Instead, she said simply, because I don't want you dead, Luca Romano. Not anymore. His hand found hers in the darkness of the car, fingers intertwining. Neither spoke again as they drove toward an uncertain alliance, both aware that something fundamental had changed between them. Enemy lines were blurring. And neither was sure where that left them. Chapter 10. The safe house was a luxury apartment overlooking Central Park, Romano territory, neutral ground for their meeting. Salvatore Romano had agreed to see them, but not until morning. Until then, they were alone with their thoughts and each other. Valentina stood at the window, watching the city lights flicker like stars. Behind her, Luca moved about the kitchen, the soft clink of glasses and ice a strangely domestic sound after the chaos of the night. Whiskey, he offered, joining her with 2 tumblers. She accepted one, grateful for the burn as she took a sip. Your arm? It's fine. Just a graze. He rolled his shoulder, wincing slightly. I've had worse. I'm sure you have. She studied him over the rim of her glass. How many people have you killed, Luca? The question hung in the air between them. He didn't flinch from it. 11. His voice was quiet, steady. My first was when I was 19. Valentina nodded, unsurprised. Tell me about it. Why? Because I want to understand who you are. She moved to the sofa, sinking into its softness. Beyond the name. Beyond the mission. Luca joined her, keeping a careful distance. He was a loan shark who beat my cousin nearly to death over a few $1,000s. I waited outside his apartment and shot him when he came home. Did you feel anything? Horror. Relief. He stared into his drink. Power. She understood that mixture all too well, the terrible clarity that came with violence. The others, she asked. Rival soldiers. Threats to the family. He paused. One was a mistake. Wrong place, wrong time. Do you remember his face? All of them. Luca met her gaze. I remember all of them. The honesty in his voice touched something in her. Most men in their world lied about the toll killing took, pretended it meant nothing. Luca carried his ghosts openly. My father wanted to shield me from this life, she said after a moment. From the violence. The blood. He thought it would corrupt me. Would it have? She laughed softly. I was born corrupted, Luca. Moretti blood runs in my veins. The only difference is I never pulled a trigger myself. But you've given orders. Her eyes snapped to his. What makes you say that? The way you handled yourself at the club. The way Alvarez respected you. He leaned closer. The way you're not afraid of me, even knowing what I am. She didn't deny it. After Marco died, I started taking control of pieces of the business. Small operations. Things my father was too distracted to notice. Building your own power base. Respect colored his tone. Smart. Necessary. She set down her glass. I was tired of being the princess in the tower. They fell silent, the weight of their shared world settling between them. Two people born into violence, shaped by family legacies neither had chosen. When you came to kill me, Valentina said finally, was it personal? Or just business? Luca's jaw tightened. I never came to kill you. But that was the plan eventually, wasn't it? Get close. Learn our weaknesses. Take me out to hurt my father. That was my uncle's plan. He set his glass down with more force than necessary. I agreed to get close to you. To gather information. The rest. The rest? He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I couldn't do it. Even before I met you. Targeting women, it's not who I am. But you came anyway. For Nico. His voice roughened. For my father. For the family I thought your father had destroyed. And now? She held his gaze. Now that you know it was Carlo? Luca's eyes darkened. Now I want justice. For Nico. For Marco. For all of us caught in this war. Justice or revenge? Is there a difference? Valentina moved closer, the space between them charged with something beyond words. Yes. Justice heals. Revenge consumes. His eyes dropped to her lips, then back to her eyes. And what are you seeking, Valentina Moretti? Truth, she whispered. No matter who it hurts. The air between them thickened, charged with the electricity of two storms colliding. Valentina knew she should pull back, maintain distance. This man had entered her life to destroy it. Had lied to her face while gaining her trust. And yet she'd lied too. Had her own motives. Her own secrets. They were reflections of each other, children of violence trying to find their own paths. I never wanted to care about you, Luca said softly, breaking the silence. It would have been easier if I didn't. Easier for whom? For both of us. His hand found hers, warm and callous from years of violence, yet gentle as it traced the lines of her palm. A killer's hand that somehow felt safe. We're enemies, Luca, she reminded him, even as she leaned closer. Are we? His voice dropped lower. Or are we just two people caught on opposite sides of someone else's war? She had no answer for that. No words for the confusion in her heart. This man who'd come to destroy her family had saved her life. Had opened up about his darkest deeds. Had looked at her not as a pampered mafia princess, but as an equal. Whatever happens tomorrow, Luca continued, with your father, with my uncle. I need you to know that not everything was a lie. What I feel for you now, that's real. And what do you feel? She asked, voice barely audible. Instead of answering, he closed the distance between them. His lips met hers softly at first, a question more than a demand. When she didn't pull away, the kiss deepened, his hand cradling her face as if she might shatter. Valentina should have stopped it. Should have remembered Marco. Her father. The blood between their families. Instead, she found herself responding, her fingers threading through his hair, pulling him closer. The kiss turned fierce, hungry, years of isolation and loneliness pouring into this one reckless moment. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Luca rested his forehead against hers. That's what I feel, he murmured. Complicated enough for you? She laughed softly, the sound surprising them both. Nothing about this is simple. No. His thumb traced her cheekbone. But it's real. Maybe the only real thing in either of our lives right now. Valentina pulled back slightly, studying his face. The face of a man who'd killed 11 people. Who'd come into her world as an infiltrator? Who looked at her now like she was something precious? Tomorrow could end badly, she warned. My father. Your uncle. They have decades of hatred between them. Then we make tonight count. Luca's voice was serious, his eyes never leaving hers. Whatever happens tomorrow, we face it knowing we chose our own path. Just once. The weight of tomorrow's meeting hung over them, the confrontation with Salvatore Romano, the evidence against Carlo, the uncertain future that awaited. They might both end up casualties in a war neither had started. But for tonight, in this neutral territory between their warring families, they could choose to be just Valentina and Luca. Two people finding connection in a world built on betrayal. Valentina closed her eyes, making her decision. When she opened them again, she took Luca's hand, rising from the sofa. One night, she agreed softly. Our choice. As she led him toward the bedroom, leaving family loyalties and blood feuds behind, Valentina felt something she hadn't experienced since before Marco's death. Freedom. Chapter 11. Morning brought clarity and complications. Valentina woke in Luca's arms, their night together still lingering on her skin. For a few precious moments, she allowed herself to feel normal, just a woman waking beside a man she desired. Reality crashed back when her phone buzzed with a message from her father. * coming home today. Need to talk. Family matters. *. Bad news? Luca asked, voice rough with sleep as he watched her read the message. My father's returning from his meeting in Chicago. She set the phone down. Our timeline just got shorter. The meeting with Salvatore Romano was scheduled for noon, barely 4 hours away. By nightfall, everything could change. No regrets? Luca's eyes searched hers, vulnerability showing briefly before his usual guard returned. Valentina touched his face, tracing the stubble along his jaw. No regrets. Salvatore Romano looked nothing like his nephew. Where Luca was all sharp angles and controlled intensity, Salvatore was barrel-chested, with a booming laugh that belied his ruthless reputation. So, he said, studying Valentina across the table in his private club, Antonio Moretti's daughter comes to me with tales of betrayal. Why should I believe you? Because Carlo Vannucci killed your nephew. Valentina slid a flash drive across the table. And my brother. The evidence is there. Luca stood behind her chair, a silent presence that grounded her. They'd agreed she would lead, Salvatore would respect her more if she spoke for herself. You expect me to believe Antonio knew nothing about this? Salvatore challenged. My father covered it up after the fact. Valentina held his gaze. That makes him complicit, but not the architect. Carlo has been building his own operation, using both our families as shields. Salvatore reviewed the files, his expression darkening. And what do you want from me? A truce. Valentina leaned forward. Long enough to bring Carlo down. After that, our families can decide if there's still reason for war. The older man laughed. A diplomat as well as a spy. Your father underestimates you. Most men do. Salvatore's eyes flickered to Luca. Not all men, it seems. A tense silence followed. Valentina could feel the weight of history and blood between them, decades of rivalry, betrayal, death. Finally, Salvatore nodded. 48 hours. No moves against your family. After that, it depends on what Antonio decides. It was the best they could hope for. Valentina stood, extending her hand. Thank you for your time, Mr. Romano. As they prepared to leave, Salvatore called Luca back for a private word. Valentina waited by the door, watching the intense exchange, unable to hear the words but reading the tension in Luca's shoulders. What was that about? She asked as they left. Luca's face was grim. Family expectations. Nothing important. But she knew a lie when she heard one, even from him. The news reached them before they made it back to Moretti territory. Don Antonio Moretti had collapsed at O'Hare Airport, rushed to the hospital with a suspected heart attack. Valentina paced the hospital corridor, her world tilting on its axis. First Marco, now her father. The family was crumbling around her. Ms. Moretti? The doctor approached. Your father is stable. The heart attack was mild, but he needs rest. No stress. Can I see him? The doctor hesitated. Briefly. He's sedated. Her father looked small in the hospital bed, diminished without his usual commanding presence. Tubes and monitors surrounded him, beeping quietly in the sterile room. Dad? She took his hand carefully. His eyes fluttered open. Valentina. His voice was weak. The business. Can wait, she interrupted. Focus on getting better. He gripped her hand with surprising strength. No. Carlo has been waiting for an opportunity like this. You need to step in. Take control. Valentina stared at him, shocked. After years of being sidelined, of being told she was too delicate for the family business, her father was handing her the reins. You never wanted me involved before. A ghost of a smile touched his pale lips. Because I wanted better for you. But now, the family needs a Moretti in charge. You're all that's left. The weight of his words settled on her shoulders. I'll handle it, she promised. As she left the room, she found not just Luca waiting, but 3 of her father's captains. Men who had worked for Don Moretti for decades. Men who had never taken orders from a woman. How is he? Asked Frankie, the oldest of the 3. Stable. But he'll be here for days, maybe weeks. Valentina straightened her spine, decision made. He's put me in charge until he recovers. She watched the doubt cross their faces, the silent communication between them. They didn't believe her. We should call Carlo, suggested Tommy, the youngest. He's the underboss. Carlo is handling other matters, Valentina lied smoothly. My father was explicit. I'm in charge. Another exchange of glances. Another moment of hesitation. Luca stepped forward, his presence suddenly commanding the space. Don Moretti made his decision. Are you questioning it? The challenge hung in the air. Finally, Frankie nodded. What are your orders, Ms. Moretti? Valentina felt a shift in the atmosphere, the first tremor of power transferring to her hands. Call a meeting. All captains, tonight. And find Carlo. Tell him to be there. She paused. This is my associate, Luca Ricci. He has my complete trust. As the men departed, Luca raised an eyebrow. Your complete trust? That's a strong statement. I need their respect. Having a man like you at my side helps. She lowered her voice. For now, we keep our arrangement private. We still don't know who else might be involved with Carlo. His eyes searched hers. And what exactly is our arrangement, Valentina? The question encompassed far more than their alliance against Carlo. Last night had changed things between them, created something neither had expected. Complicated, she answered, echoing his words from the night before. But necessary. The meeting was held at the Moretti estate, in her father's study. 14 men gathered around the massive oak table, suspicion and uncertainty hanging thick in the air. Carlo's absence was conspicuous. He's not answering his phone, Tommy reported. No one's seen him since yesterday. Then we proceed without him. Valentina took her place at the head of the table, her father's chair. Luca stood behind her, a silent sentinel. She laid out a simplified version of recent events, her father's condition, the temporary leadership structure, ongoing operations that needed attention. She assigned tasks, redistributed territories, established her authority one decision at a time. Most accepted her leadership, if reluctantly. A few remained skeptical, eyes shifting to the empty chair where Carlo should have been. After the meeting, when the captains had departed, Valentina allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. "He's running," she said, collapsing into her father's chair. "Carlo knows we've discovered his side operation. Which makes him desperate." Luca perched on the edge of the desk. "Dangerous. I need to secure my position before he makes a move." She ran a hand through her hair. "These men follow my father out of loyalty and fear. I have neither yet." "You have more than you think." Luca's voice softened. "You handled that room like you were born to it." "I was." She met his eyes. "But being born to something doesn't mean you get to keep it. I need results. Need to show strength." "What are you thinking?" Valentina smiled, a plan forming. "Carlo's warehouse on Staten Island. The one he doesn't think we know about. I'm going to take it. That's risky. That's necessary. I need their respect." She stood, decision made. "Will you help me?" Luca hesitated, conflict evident in his eyes. His loyalty was being tested, his family, his mission, his growing feelings for her. "Yes," he finally said. "I'll help you." The word hung between them, weighted with unspoken complications. He was helping her secure power in a rival family. Going against his own blood. Because of what had grown between them, this dangerous, impossible thing that neither had planned for. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why risk everything for me?" Luca's expression shifted, vulnerability showing for just a moment before his usual guard returned. "Because I'm starting to think some things are worth risking everything for." The admission changed something in the air between them, a shift from tactical alliance to something deeper, more dangerous. Something that might get them both killed. Chapter 12. The raid on Carlo's warehouse yielded more than Valentina had hoped for. Cash. Weapons. Ledgers detailing a shadow operation he'd been running for years, siphoning profits from both the Moretti and Romano families. More importantly, it yielded respect. The men who had followed her father now looked at her differently, with caution, even admiration. Power suited Valentina Moretti. 3 days after her father's heart attack, she sat in his home office reviewing Carlo's records when her phone rang. A number she didn't recognize. "Valentina Moretti," she answered cautiously. "Impressive move, taking my warehouse." Carlo's voice sent ice through her veins. "Your father taught you well." She kept her voice steady. "Where are you, Carlo?" "Somewhere safe. For now." He sounded amused. "But we need to talk." "About what?" "How you betrayed my family." "Killed my brother?" A pause. "You've been busy." "Let me guess, your new boyfriend helped you connect those dots?" "Luca had nothing to do with it. I found the evidence myself." "And what exactly do you think you found?" His tone shifted, darker now. "You're playing a game you don't understand, little girl." "Then explain it to me." Valentina kept him talking while signaling to one of her men to trace the call. "Why did you kill Marco? Why kill Nico Romano?" Another pause, longer this time. "Meet me. Alone. Then you'll get your answers." "Why would I trust you?" "Because I'm the only one who knows what your father did." Carlo's voice lowered. "The only one who knows why he really kept you out of the business all these years." Her heart stuttered. "You're lying." "The botanical gardens. Midnight. Come alone, or don't come at all." The line went dead. Valentina stared at the phone, mind racing. It was obviously a trap. But Carlo knew things, secrets he believed would give him leverage. She needed to know what they were. Her security chief shook his head. Couldn't trace it. Burner phone. Thank you, Tony. She made her decision. I need you to arrange something for me. You can't seriously be considering this. Luca paced the length of her private sitting room, tension radiating from every movement. He's trying to lure you out. He'll kill you. He'll try. Valentina watched him, calm in the face of his agitation. But I won't be unprotected. It's too risky. Send men to grab him instead. And lose the chance to find out what he knows? She shook her head. I need answers, Luca. About Marco. About my father. He stopped pacing, studying her with those intense eyes that seemed to see too much. What aren't you telling me? She hesitated. Trust was still a fragile thing between them, constantly tested by the weight of their family names. Carlo implied my father has been hiding something from me. Something about why he kept me away from the business. Luca's expression softened fractionally. And you need to know what it is. Wouldn't you? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. At least let me come with you. He said alone. Since when do you follow Carlo's rules? A small smile touched her lips. I'll have men positioned throughout the gardens. You can be among them. Relief crossed his face. I'll be close. At the first sign of trouble. You'll trust me to handle it. She stepped closer, resting a hand on his chest. I'm not helpless, Luca. His hand covered hers. I know. That's what terrifies me. The confession hung between them, weighted with everything they weren't saying. The growing attachment neither had planned for. The impossible future they faced. Be careful, he murmured, pulling her closer. I'm getting used to having you around. She smiled against his shirt. Likewise. The botanical gardens were eerily beautiful at night, moonlight filtering through glass panels, casting strange shadows among exotic plants. Valentina moved quietly through the conservatory, gun hidden beneath her coat. Carlo waited by the orchid display, looking relaxed despite being a hunted man. He smiled when he saw her, the expression not reaching his eyes. No security? Brave girl. Cut the small talk, Carlo. She kept her distance. You said you had answers. Always so direct. He shook his head. Your father never appreciated that quality in you. Too much like your mother. Leave my mother out of this. But that's where it all started. Carlo's smile faded. With Isabella. The great love of Antonio's life and his greatest weakness. What are you talking about? Your mother wasn't just a civilian who caught a mobster's eye. She was Romano blood. First cousin to Matteo Romano himself. The world tilted beneath Valentina's feet. You're lying. Why would I? Your father kept it hidden all these years. Married her in secret when both families would have objected. When they found out she was pregnant with you, the Romanos wanted you raised as one of them. Your father refused. That's why he kept me away from the business, she whispered, pieces falling into place. Not to protect me from it. To hide your bloodline, Carlo confirmed. The precious Moretti princess, half Romano. Imagine the scandal. Her mind reeled. If it was true, if she shared blood with the family her father hated, with Luca's family. Why are you telling me this? She demanded, forcing her emotions down. Because you need to understand what you're really fighting for. Carlo stepped closer. Your father has lied to you your entire life. The Romanos didn't kill Marco, Antonio did. What? The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's absurd. Marco discovered the truth about your mother. Confronted your father. Carlo's voice dropped. Antonio couldn't risk it getting out. So he had his own son eliminated. Blamed it on the Romanos to keep the war going. No. Valentina shook her head. He wouldn't. Not Marco. I was there, Valentina. I heard the order. Carlo's eyes gleamed. Just like I heard him order the hit on Nico Romano when the kid got too close to you at college. Your father has killed to protect his secrets. To keep you isolated. Her hand slipped inside her coat, fingers closing around her gun. Why should I believe you? Because I'm the only one who can prove it. He produced a phone from his pocket. I recorded conversations. Kept evidence. Insurance, you might say. Valentina's mind raced, sorting truth from manipulation. Carlo was playing her, but every good lie contained elements of truth. If my father ordered these hits, why did you take the blame in your own records? Carlo's smile returned. Smart girl. I didn't. Those records you found were planted. A failsafe in case anyone got too close. Convenient. The truth rarely is. He held out the phone. Listen for yourself. As she reached for it, the slightest movement in the shadows caught her eye. One of her men? Or one of Carlo's? Before she could react, a shot rang out. Carlo jerked, red blooming across his chest. The phone clattered to the ground as he fell. Valentina dropped to a crouch, gun drawn, scanning for the shooter. More shots followed, not aimed at her, but at the perimeter where her men were positioned. An ambush. She crawled to Carlo, pressing her hand to his wound. Who shot you? Who else knows? Blood bubbled from his lips as he laughed weakly. You think I came alone? I taught you better than that. The recordings, she insisted. Were they real? His eyes began to glaze. Ask your father about Isabella Romano. Watch his face. His body went slack beneath her hands. Outside, the gunfire intensified. Valentina grabbed the fallen phone, then moved toward the exit, staying low. She needed to find Luca, get out before Carlo's men closed in. A figure appeared in the doorway ahead, not Luca, but a man she recognized as one of Carlo's lieutenants. His gun raised toward her. She fired first, not hesitating. The man fell, and she moved past him, heart pounding. Outside was chaos. Gunfire. Shouting. The night lit by muzzle flashes. Valentina. Luca's voice, urgent from somewhere to her left. She turned toward it, relief flooding her, then stopped cold as another figure stepped between them. Salvatore Romano, gun in hand, face like thunder. Uncle. Luca's voice held warning as he appeared behind the older man. This wasn't the plan. Plans change, Salvatore growled, eyes fixed on Valentina. Carlo's dead? She nodded, wary. Your men? Not mine. Salvatore's expression darkened. But this ends tonight. All of it. Valentina tensed, finger on the trigger, eyes flicking between uncle and nephew. What are you saying? I'm saying the truce is over. Salvatore turned to Luca. End it. Kill her. Or I kill you both. The ultimatum hung in the air like poison. Luca's face hardened, his eyes meeting Valentina's across the distance. A test of loyalty. Of blood versus heart. Luca, his uncle pressed, it's time to choose. Family or the Moretti girl. In the distance, sirens wailed. They had minutes, maybe less. I've made my choice, Luca said quietly, raising his gun. But whether it pointed at Valentina or his uncle, she couldn't tell. Chapter 13. The standoff lasted only seconds before sirens forced them all to scatter. Valentina lost sight of Luca in the chaos, escaping with Tony and 2 other guards through a service entrance. She spent the night at a safe house, listening to Carlo's recordings. Her father's voice, cold and calculating, discussing Marco's unfortunate accident. Mentioning Isabella Romano. Valentina's mother, a secret kept for 25 years. Half Moretti. Half Romano. It explained so much. Her father's overprotectiveness. His reluctance to involve her in the business. His hatred of the Romano family that went beyond normal rivalry. Dawn found her staring out the window, gun in hand, Carlo's phone tucked safely away. Her world had shattered, then reformed into something unrecognizable. "The house is secure," Tony reported, entering the room. "No signs of Romano activity." "And my father?" "Still in the hospital. He's asking for you." Valentina nodded. "I need to go back to the mansion. Alone. That's not safe." "It's necessary." She tucked the gun into her waistband. "I need files from my father's office. You can sweep the place before I arrive, but I go in alone." Tony hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Yes, Ms. Moretti." The Moretti mansion stood silent in the morning light, emptied of staff for security. Valentina moved through familiar hallways that suddenly felt foreign, her steps echoing in the emptiness. In her father's office, she went straight to the hidden safe behind her mother's portrait. The combination, her mother's birthday, yielded a stack of old documents. Birth certificates. Marriage license. Photos of a young Isabella Romano, the resemblance to Valentina unmistakable. Carlo had told the truth. At least about her heritage. She was still reading when she felt it, the slight shift in air pressure that meant a door opening elsewhere in the house. Footsteps, too quiet to be Tony returning. Valentina slipped her gun from her waistband, moving silently to the side of the door. Waiting. The footsteps approached, one person, moving with purpose. They stopped outside the office. The door opened slowly. A familiar silhouette filled the frame. Luca. He stepped into the room, gun at his side, eyes finding her immediately despite the shadows. "Valentina." His voice was rough, strained. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you." She kept her gun trained on him, heart pounding. "Did your uncle send you to finish the job?" Luca closed the door behind him. "You know the answer to that." "Do I?" She stepped closer, gun unwavering. "Last night, you had a choice. Family or me. What did you choose, Luca?" "I chose you." The raw honesty in his voice nearly broke her. "I told my uncle I needed to handle this my way. He gave me 24 hours. To kill me. To fix this." He hadn't raised his gun, though she knew he could disarm her if he wanted to. "Valentina, we need to talk about what Carlo told you." Her finger tensed on the trigger. "How do you know what Carlo told me?" "Because I heard it all." Luca's eyes never left hers. "I was there, hidden in the orchid room. I heard everything about your mother. About Marco." The revelation hit her like a physical blow. "You knew?" "Before I did?" "I suspected." He took a careful step forward. "Rumors in my family. Things my father said before he died. But I never knew for certain until last night." Valentina's mind raced. If Luca knew she had Romano blood, had heard Carlo's accusations about her father. "Is that why you didn't kill me? Because we share blood?" Pain flashed across his face. "Is that what you think of me? That I'd murder you if we weren't connected by family?" "I don't know what to think anymore." Her hands began to shake. "Everyone has lied to me. My father. Carlo. Maybe even you. Not about everything. Another step closer. Not about how I feel. Stop. She raised the gun higher. Don't come any closer. Luca froze, then slowly raised his own weapon, pointing it at her chest. This is what they want. Us destroying each other while they continue their war. Then why are you here? With a gun? The same reason you're holding one on me. His eyes softened. Insurance. Protection. Fear. The truth of it resonated between them. Two people caught in a war not of their making, armed against each other but fighting the same battle. I found proof, she said quietly. My mother was Isabella Romano. I'm half Romano by blood. I know. He lowered his gun slightly. Just as I know your father ordered my brother's death. And probably Marco's. The confirmation from another source made it real in a way Carlo's accusations hadn't. Valentina felt her world tilting again. Then we're enemies after all, she whispered. Your blood against mine. No. Luca set his gun on the desk beside him, a gesture of trust that left him vulnerable. Carlo wanted us to think that way. To keep fighting their war. But we can choose differently. How? Her gun remained pointed at his chest, though her resolve was wavering. Your uncle wants me dead. My father would kill you on sight. We run. The suggestion hung in the air between them. Take what we know, disappear. Start over somewhere they can't reach us. Run away? She laughed bitterly. That's your solution? It's one option. His eyes held hers. The other is we finish this. Expose them all. Bring down both families. She stared at him, seeing not the Romano hitman who had infiltrated her life, but the man who had saved her at the club. Who had looked at her with respect when others dismissed her. Who had held her like she was precious. Why are you really here, Luca? She asked, voice barely audible. He took another step toward her, close enough now that her gun nearly touched his chest. Because I couldn't stay away. Because whatever this is between us matters more than family loyalty. Because I... The confession hung unfinished as she pressed the barrel against his heart. Don't say it, she warned. Don't make this harder. His hand covered hers on the gun, not forcing it away, simply connecting. It's already as hard as it gets, Valentina. The touch broke something inside her. Weeks of tension, betrayal, and unexpected feelings came crashing down. Her hand trembled beneath his. I should pull the trigger, she whispered. End this. You could. His voice was gentle. But you won't. How do you know? Because I know you. His free hand came up to touch her face. Better than I've known anyone. The gun wavered between them, a barrier neither could cross. Until Valentina made her choice. She lowered the weapon slowly, tears filling her eyes. I can't do it. I can't kill you. Relief flooded his face as he drew her into his arms, the gun falling forgotten to the carpet. She clung to him, the dam finally breaking as sobs tore from her throat. It's okay, he murmured against her hair. I'm here. Everything was a lie, she choked out. My whole life. Not everything. His lips pressed against her temple. Not this. He tilted her face up, thumbs brushing away tears. The tenderness in his touch undid her completely. When his lips met hers, it wasn't the hesitant kiss from before. This was raw, desperate, charged with everything they couldn't say. The knowledge that they were caught between worlds. That they should be enemies. That they had chosen each other instead. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, needing the solid reality of him. His arms tightened around her waist, lifting her slightly as the kiss deepened. They stumbled backward until her legs hit the desk, papers scattering. Neither cared. Months of tension, of circling each other as predator and prey, exploded into something primal. His hands tangled in her hair as hers worked at his shirt buttons, needing to touch skin, to ground herself in sensation. Valentina, he breathed against her neck, a question and a plea. Don't stop, she answered, pulling him down to her. Please don't stop. The world outside, their families, their blood, their impossible situation, ceased to exist. There was only this room, this moment, this man who had gone from enemy to everything in the space of a breath. As clothing fell away and skin met skin, Valentina surrendered to the one truth she could still believe in. Whatever lay between them, it was real. And for now, it was enough. Chapter 14. Sunlight streamed through the office windows, illuminating tangled limbs and scattered papers. Valentina stirred first, consciousness returning in layers. Warmth. Safety. Luca's arms around her. Then reality crashed back, who they were, what they'd done, the impossible situation they faced. She sat up, clutching his shirt around her bare shoulders. What time is it? Luca checked his watch. Almost noon. He reached for her, but she moved away, gathering her clothes. My security will be back soon. Her voice was cool, distant. You need to go. He studied her, confusion evident in his eyes. Valentina. This was a mistake. She pulled on her blouse, fingers fumbling with buttons. We got caught up in the moment. It doesn't change anything. It changes everything. He stood, reaching for his own clothes. You know it does. She couldn't look at him, couldn't risk seeing what she felt reflected in his eyes. My father ordered your brother's death. Your uncle wants me dead. We're not star-crossed lovers, Luca. We're pawns in a war. Then let's stop being pawns. He caught her arm, turning her to face him. We have leverage now. Information both sides want buried. And what? We blackmail our way to happiness? She pulled free. There's no happy ending here. There could be. His voice softened. If we're willing to fight for it. The hope in his words nearly broke her resolve. But Valentina had spent a lifetime watching her father's world destroy anything good that touched it. I need time to think, she said, softening slightly. To process everything. Carlo's accusations. My mother. Us. Luca nodded, understanding in his eyes as he finished dressing. I'll give you space. But remember, my uncle's deadline ends tonight. If I don't contact him. The unfinished threat hung between them. Salvatore would send others. The clock was ticking. I'll figure something out, she promised. Just go. Please. He moved to the door, then paused, turning back. One thing you should know. Your real name, Luca Romano, was it ever real? Or was that another lie? Pain flashed across his face. Luca is real. Ricci was the lie. Romano is my father's name, my real name. His eyes held hers. The man you know is the real me, Valentina. Remember that, whatever you decide. After he left, Valentina sank into her father's chair, mind whirling. She had hours, at most, to make decisions that would shape the rest of her life. To trust Luca or not. To confront her father or not. To run or to fight. Her eyes fell on the stack of documents about her mother. Isabella Romano, beautiful, young, forbidden to Antonio Moretti yet loved by him enough to risk everything. Had they felt this same impossible pull? This same certainty that defied logic? Her phone buzzed with a message from the hospital. Her father was awake, asking for her. It was time for truth. Don Antonio Moretti looked smaller in the hospital bed, but his eyes remained sharp as Valentina entered the room. There she is. His smile didn't reach his eyes. My daughter, the acting Don. How are you feeling? She kissed his cheek, the familiar gesture suddenly foreign. Like I had a heart attack. He studied her face. You look tired. Is it Carlo? I heard about the shooting at the Botanical Gardens. Carlo's dead. She took the chair beside his bed. Shot by an unknown sniper. A tragedy. Her father's tone suggested otherwise. But convenient. He was becoming problematic. Valentina met his gaze steadily. Because he knew the truth about Mom? The color drained from her father's face. What? Isabella Romano. She kept her voice level. My mother. Your secret. For a long moment, he simply stared at her, decades of careful lies crumbling between them. Who told you? He finally asked. Carlo. Before he died. She leaned forward. But I found your proof too. The marriage certificate. The photos. Don Moretti closed his eyes briefly, defeat evident in the slump of his shoulders. It was a different time. The families were at war. I met her at a neutral gathering in Chicago. She was luminous. You fell in love. Foolishly. Completely. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. We married in secret. When she became pregnant with you, we planned to run away together. Start fresh. What happened? Her cousin, Matteo Romano, discovered our plans. Threatened to kill me, take her back, raise you as a Romano. Bitterness crept into his voice. We tried to escape. There was a car accident. Isabella didn't survive. Valentina absorbed this, comparing it to Carlo's version. So you hid my heritage. Raised me as a pure Moretti. To protect you. His hand found hers. If the Romano family knew you carried their blood, they would have tried to claim you. Or killed you for being tainted by mine. Did Marco know? A flicker of something, guilt, crossed her father's face. Eventually. He found documentation similar to what you discovered. And you had him killed for it. The accusation hung between them. Don Moretti's grip tightened painfully on her hand. Is that what Carlo told you? That I murdered my own son? He had recordings. You, discussing Marco's accident. Edited. Manipulated. Her father's anger flared. I loved Marco. I mourned him. I've spent months hunting his killers. The Romanos. Yes. His certainty was absolute. They took my son from me. Just like they took Isabella. Valentina withdrew her hand. And Nico Romano? The younger brother? Did you order his death too? That boy was getting too close to you in college. Asking questions. His death was necessary. No remorse colored his tone. Everything I've done has been to protect you, Valentina. Everything. The casual admission of murder chilled her. This man who had raised her, who had kept her sheltered from violence, admitted to ordering a young man's torture and death without hesitation. What about Luca Romano? She asked carefully. Did you know who he was when he entered our lives? Her father's eyes narrowed. Ricci? What about him? His real name is Luca Romano. Matteo's son. Nico's older brother. Shock registered on her father's face, followed quickly by fury. He's been near you? In our home? He saved my life, she countered. Multiple times. He's Romano blood. Her father tried to sit up, monitors beeping in protest. He's been playing you, using you to get to me. Where is he now? Gone. It wasn't exactly a lie. But Dad, what if this cycle could end? What if Romano and Moretti blood could stop spilling? Never. The vehemence in his voice startled her. They took everything from me. They will pay until the last Romano draws breath. Even if that breath is half Moretti? She stood, anger rising. I have their blood too. Does that make me your enemy? You're different. His expression softened. You're my daughter. I'm both. She moved toward the door. And I won't be part of this war anymore. Valentina. Her father's voice sharpened. If you've been with him, with a Romano, you're making a grave mistake. She paused at the door. The mistake was believing I ever had a choice in any of this. Back at the mansion, Valentina found Tony waiting with urgent news. We've tracked Luca Romano to a motel in Queens, he reported. Your father called. He wants us to move in. Take him out. Her heart stuttered. My father called? From the hospital? Yes, ma'am. He was insistent. She made a split-second decision. I'll handle Ricci myself. Alone. Ms. Moretti, that's not safe. It's necessary. She met his gaze. This is personal, Tony. You understand? After a moment, he nodded. Yes, ma'am. The motel was exactly the kind of place a man on the run would choose. Anonymous. Cash only. No cameras. Valentina knocked on room 14, hand on her gun. No answer. Using the key Tony had acquired from the manager, she entered cautiously. The room was empty, bed untouched. But signs of Luca remained, a discarded coffee cup, a burner phone on the nightstand. No personal belongings. No weapons. Just a note propped against the lamp. Valentina. Asterisk if you're reading this, I'm already gone. My uncle knows I failed him. There's a price on my head now too, asterisk. Asterisk don't trust anyone. Not your father. Not your men. Especially not Carlo's people, asterisk. I'll find a way to contact you when it's safe. Until then, remember what's real. L. She read it twice, throat tight with emotion she couldn't afford. Luca had disappeared. Gone to ground before her father's men, or his uncles, could find him. And now she was truly alone, caught between warring families, both of which she belonged to by blood. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Asterisk Warehouse 17. Port of Newark. Midnight. Bring what Carlo gave you. Come alone or don't come, asterisk. S. Salvatore Romano. Luca's uncle. The head of the family that was half her heritage. The man who had ordered her death. Valentina tucked the note into her pocket, decision made. No more running. No more being a pawn. It was time to end this war, one way or another. Chapter 15. Warehouse 17 loomed at the edge of Newark's port, a hulking shadow against the night sky. Valentina watched from her car, counting guards, 6 visible, probably more inside. Salvatore Romano wasn't taking chances. Neither was she. Carlo's phone sat heavy in her pocket, the audio files it contained powerful enough to destroy both families. Leverage. Protection. A way out, perhaps. Her own phone buzzed. Elena, her childhood friend. Asterisk, did you find Luca? Are you safe? Asterisk. Valentina had told Elena everything, the only person she trusted completely. Elena had no family ties, no stake in the war. Just 20 years of friendship. Asterisk about to meet South contingency plan in place. If you don't hear from me by 2 a.m., send the package asterisk. That package was a digital deadman's switch, copies of Carlo's recordings, her mother's documents, evidence of decades of crimes by both families, set to go to federal authorities if she didn't stop it. Insurance, in case tonight went wrong. Asterisk be careful. I love you, asterisk. Love you too. Valentina checked her gun, then exited the car. As she approached the warehouse, 2 guards patted her down, taking her visible weapon but missing the small backup piece strapped to her ankle. Ms. Moretti. Salvatore greeted her inside, seated at a makeshift table. Bold of you to come. Necessary. She took the seat across from him, assessing the room. 6 more men inside, all armed. I believe we have mutual interests to discuss. Such as? Carlo Vannucci. His side operations. The damage he's done to both our families. Salvatore's eyes narrowed. And my nephew? Where does he fit in this mutual interest? I don't know where Luca is. Truth, for once. But I know he was telling the truth about Carlo. About my father's role in Nico's death. About everything. Yet you're still alive. Suspicion colored his tone. He was sent to kill you. He made a different choice. Because he discovered your blood? Salvatore leaned forward. Oh yes, I know about Isabella. My cousin's daughter. She was promised to another man before your father stole her away. Valentina absorbed this. More family history, more grudges. Then you know I'm as much Romano as Moretti. Blood doesn't change loyalty. His hand moved to rest near his gun. And your loyalty is clearly to Antonio. My loyalty, she replied evenly, is to ending this war. To justice for those who've died, on both sides. Salvatore studied her, weighing her words against decades of distrust. Pretty speech. But words are cheap in our world. Actions matter more. Valentina reached slowly into her pocket, extracting Carlo's phone. That's why I brought proof. Evidence that Carlo played both families against each other for years. That he ordered hits to maintain his power, including on your people. Curiosity flickered in Salvatore's eyes. Show me. She placed the phone on the table but kept her hand on it. First, we establish terms. I walk out of here alive. You pull back your hit on Luca. We find a way forward that doesn't end in more bloodshed. A harsh laugh escaped him. You're in no position to negotiate, girl. I'm in exactly the right position. She met his gaze steadily. Because this isn't the only copy of what I have. If anything happens to me tonight, everything goes to the feds. Both our families fall. The threat hung in the air, tense and dangerous. Then slowly, Salvatore nodded. Let's hear what you have. Valentina played selected recordings, Carlo discussing side deals, admitting to manipulating both Don Moretti and the Romanos, orchestrating violence to maintain his position. With each revelation, Salvatore's expression darkened further. That snake, he muttered when she finished. Operating under our noses all this time. He's dead now, Valentina reminded him. But his network isn't. His lieutenants are still out there, still loyal to his vision, not to either of our families. And you want to, what? Join forces against them? Skepticism dripped from his words. I want justice. For Nico. For Marco. For everyone caught in this meaningless war. She leaned forward. Starting with the men who carried out Carlo's orders. Salvatore's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. You have names? Better. I have locations. She produced a small map from her jacket. Carlo's top lieutenants are meeting tonight. planning their next move now that he's gone. Interest sparked in the older man's eyes. And you know this how? Because I called the meeting. She smiled thinly. Using Carlo's phone. His codes. They think they're meeting their new leader. Understanding dawned on Salvatore's face. It's a trap. For the men who actually pulled the triggers. Who tortured Nico? Who shot Marco? She spread the map on the table. I have men in position, but not enough. With your help, we can take them all. Salvatore studied her with new respect. You've thought this through. I am my father's daughter. She held his gaze. And apparently, your blood as well. For a long moment, he simply stared at her, weighing options, calculating risks. Then he reached for the map. Tell me the plan. The abandoned factory on Staten Island had once been a Moretti money laundering front before Carlo converted it to his own use. Tonight, it would serve a final purpose. Valentina watched from across the street as cars arrived, Carlo's top men gathering unsuspectingly. 8 in total, the inner circle who had helped him manipulate both families. Beside her, Salvatore checked his weapon. Your father knows about this? No. She kept her eyes on the factory. He's still in the hospital. And I'm not sure which side he'd choose. Smart girl. Approval colored his tone. Never trust anyone completely. Not even family. Especially not family, she murmured. 2 teams were in position, her most trusted Moretti soldiers and Salvatore's Romano men, working together for the first time in decades. An uneasy alliance, but effective. It's time. She checked her watch. They're all inside. Salvatore raised a radio. Move in. No survivors. Wait. Valentina grabbed his arm. That wasn't the plan. We need them alive. For information. Information? Salvatore's smile chilled her. My dear, this isn't about information. It's about sending a message. He raised the radio again, barking orders. His men began closing in on the factory, not in the careful formation they'd planned, but with weapons ready. You're using me, Valentina realized. This was never about justice. It's about eliminating threats. Carlo's men. Your men. His gun shifted slightly toward her. And eventually, you. The betrayal shouldn't have surprised her. This was the world she lived in, a world where trust got you killed. My men have orders, she countered. If I don't confirm it's safe, they'll open fire on yours. A risk I'm willing to take. As Salvatore's finger tensed on the radio button, a voice spoke from the shadows behind them. That would be a mistake, Uncle. Lucas stepped into view, gun trained on Salvatore. His face was shadowed by a bruise, his stance weary but determined. Nephew. Salvatore didn't lower his weapon. I was wondering when you'd show up. Put down the radio, Luca ordered. This isn't how it ends. You disappoint me. Salvatore's voice hardened. I gave you a simple task. Kill the Moretti girl. Instead, you fell into her bed. I chose something different. Luca moved closer, positioning himself between Valentina and his uncle. Something better than endless revenge. Sentiment. Salvatore spat the word. Your father would be ashamed. My father is dead because of this war. Luca's voice remained steady. So is my brother. So is her brother. When does it end? When they're all dead. Salvatore's finger moved to the trigger. Valentina reacted instinctively, drawing her backup gun. Don't. For a heartbeat, no one moved. A deadly triangle, 3 guns, 3 people bound by blood and betrayal. You won't shoot me. Salvatore's confidence was absolute. "You're soft, like your father. Try me." Luca's voice was cold in a way Valentina had never heard. Family loyalty only goes so far. The moment stretched, tense and fragile. Then Salvatore laughed, the sound harsh in the night air. "Perhaps I underestimated you both." He lowered his weapon slightly. "So what now? We all walk away friends?" "No." Valentina stepped forward. "We finish what we started. Carlo's men pay for their crimes. Then we negotiate peace. Real peace. Pretty dreams." Salvatore's eyes were calculating. "But let's say I agree. How do we proceed?" "My plan. Original positions." She didn't lower her gun. "We take them alive. And if I refuse? Then my men have orders to burn that building with everyone inside it." The lie came easily. "Including your nephew." Salvatore's eyes narrowed, assessing her resolve. Whatever he saw there must have convinced him. "Original plan," he conceded, lowering his weapon fully. "But this conversation isn't over." As he spoke into the radio, redirecting his men, Valentina allowed herself a small breath of relief. Beside her, Luca remained tense, gun still ready. "You came back," she whispered, eyes forward. "I never left." His voice softened for her alone. "I've been watching. Waiting. You shouldn't have taken that risk. Some things are worth the risk." His eyes met hers briefly. "Some people." Before she could respond, gunfire erupted from the factory. Shouts followed. The raid had begun. "We need to move." Luca grabbed her arm. "Now." Together, they advanced toward the building, Salvatore behind them. The night exploded into chaos, gunshots, shattered glass, men fleeing only to be cut down by the surrounding forces. Valentina spotted one of Carlo's top lieutenants making for a side exit. "There." The one in the gray coat. He was at Marco's hit. Luca moved with lethal precision, cutting off the man's escape route. The lieutenant raised his gun, but Luca was faster. A single shot to the leg dropped the man to the ground. Valentina approached as Luca secured him, recognizing the face from surveillance photos. This man had helped kill her brother. Had carried out Carlo's orders without question. "You're going to tell us everything," she said coldly. "Every hit. Every order. Every detail." Fear crossed the man's face as he looked up at her. "You're making a mistake. There are others, people you don't know about. People above even Carlo." "What are you talking about?" Luca demanded. Before the lieutenant could answer, a shot rang out. His body jerked, then went still, a bullet hole precisely centered in his forehead. Valentina whirled toward the source, one of Salvatore's men, gun still raised. "Sorry," the shooter called. He was reaching for a weapon. A lie. A deliberate silencing. Luca's eyes met hers, understanding passing between them. This wasn't over. The web was larger than they'd thought. And they'd just eliminated the only people who could have led them deeper. Chapter 16. The hospital corridor seemed endless as Valentina walked toward her father's room. Her body ached from the previous night's raid, her mind racing with questions raised by Carlo's lieutenant before he was silenced. People above even Carlo. Who else was involved? How deep did this conspiracy go? Luca had wanted to come with her, but they'd agreed it was too dangerous. Instead, he was following another lead, Carlo's private banker, who might have records of payments to unknown parties. 2 guards flanked her father's door. They nodded respectfully as she approached. In the week since his heart attack, her position had solidified. The men followed her orders now, not just out of loyalty to her father, but respect for her own strength. Don Moretti was sitting up in bed, looking stronger than the day before. His face brightened when she entered. There she is. He extended a hand. My daughter, the warrior. News travels fast. She didn't take his hand. The Staten Island raid? Taking out Carlo's network? Pride colored his voice. Of course I heard. You're making quite a name for yourself. Valentina closed the door, ensuring privacy. I need to ask you something. I need the truth. His smile faded. What is it? Nico Romano. She watched his face carefully. Did you order his death? Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, perhaps guilt. Why are you asking about ancient history? Because his brother wants justice. She stepped closer. Because I need to know if Carlo was telling the truth. Her father sighed, settling back against his pillows. Sit down, Valentina. She remained standing. Yes, he admitted finally. I ordered it. The boy was getting too close to you at Columbia. Asking questions about our family. About your mother. He was a college student. Revulsion filled her. 22 years old. He was a Romano. Her father's voice hardened. The enemy. A threat to you. So you had him tortured? Killed? I had him eliminated. No remorse colored his tone. Cleanly, efficiently. Carlo's men took it further than I ordered. The torture was their initiative. The casual admission chilled her. This was the man who had raised her, taught her right from wrong, kept her safe from the family business. And my mother? What really happened to her? Pain crossed his face, this emotion genuine. That was the truth. The car accident. Matteo Romano's men ran us off the road trying to take her back to the family. She died in my arms. So you've spent 25 years avenging her by killing Romanos. Valentina's voice remained steady despite her churning emotions. Including a boy who might have actually cared about me. Everything I've done has been to protect you. By lying to me my entire life? She stepped closer. By keeping me ignorant of my own heritage? By killing anyone who got too close? Her father's expression hardened. You don't understand this world, Valentina. The choices we make to survive. I understand perfectly now. She met his gaze directly. I understand you've been using me as an excuse for a vendetta. That mother's death gave you license for decades of violence. You're still naive. Dismissal crept into his tone. When I'm back on my feet. You'll what? Take back control? Continue the war? She laughed bitterly. The world has changed while you've been in that bed, Dad. I know the truth now. About everything. A new wariness entered his eyes. What do you mean, everything? Carlo kept records. Recordings. Of all his dealings, and yours. She produced the phone from her pocket. Including your orders regarding Marco. All color drained from her father's face. Those are lies. Fabrications. Your voice ordering a hit on your own son is quite distinctive. She played a brief clip, Don Moretti discussing Marco's problem and how it needed to be permanently resolved. That's out of context, he protested, but his eyes betrayed him. Marco was becoming erratic. Dangerous. He found out about your mother, threatened to tell you, to go public. So you had him killed. Her voice broke for the first time. Your own son. I protected the family. His hand fisted in the hospital blanket. Marco would have destroyed everything we built. Everything I saved for you. The justification was so twisted, so fundamentally wrong, that Valentina felt physically ill. This man, this monster, was her father. Half her blood. "You're more Carlo's partner than his boss," she said quietly. "You both built empires on blood. This is our world, Valentina." He reached for her hand, which she pulled away. "Power requires sacrifice. Hard choices. Not these choices." She straightened, decision made. "I'm taking control of the family. Permanently." Her father's eyes widened. "You can't." "I already have." She cut him off. "The captains support me. The soldiers follow my orders. While you've been in here playing the concerned father, I've been securing my position. This is absurd." Anger replaced his shock. "They're loyal to me. To the Moretti name. Which I carry." She smiled thinly. "Along with Romano blood, apparently. The best of both worlds." Understanding dawned on his face, followed by horror. "You've been with him. With Luca Romano. Matteo's son. Nico's brother." She didn't deny it. "The man you ordered killed when he got too close to me at the charity gala. He's using you to destroy us." Her father tried to rise, monitors beeping in protest. "He's Romano through and through. They've always wanted to take what's mine. What's yours?" She stepped back toward the door. "Everything you have, you stole. From them. From me. From Marco." "Valentina, listen to me." Desperation entered his voice. "Romano can't be trusted. None of them can. Whatever he's told you. He told me the truth." She cut him off. "Something you've never done." Her father's expression darkened. "If you choose him over family, you're dead to me." The words should have hurt. Instead, they simply confirmed what she already knew, that love had always been conditional in the Moretti family. "You taught me that family is everything," she said quietly. "But you forgot to teach me what family really means. It's not blood. It's trust. Loyalty. Truth." "Naive girl." Her father's voice turned cold. "You'll learn the hard way. When he betrays you. When they all betray you." Valentina paused at the door. "Goodbye, Dad. I've arranged for you to be transferred to a private facility upstate. For your recovery. And your containment," she didn't add. Her father was too dangerous to remain in New York, too connected. The facility was luxurious but isolated. Well guarded. A comfortable prison. "You can't do this." Real fear entered his eyes. "I'm your father. And I'm your daughter." She smiled sadly. "I learned from the best how to take what I want. How to eliminate threats. How to build power." As she turned to leave, his voice followed her, broken and desperate. "Valentina. You need me. You can't survive in this world alone." She paused one last time. "I'm not alone." Luca waited in the car outside the hospital, tension evident in his posture as she slid into the passenger seat. "How did it go?" he asked, studying her face. "As expected." She stared straight ahead. "He admitted everything. Marco. Nico. All of it." Luca's jaw tightened. And I did what needed to be done." She turned to him. "He's being moved upstate. Somewhere he can't reach us. Can't interfere." Surprise flickered across his face. "You're not having him killed?" "He's still my father." The admission cost her. "But he's no longer in power." "I am." Luca started the car, processing this. What about your captains? Will they accept this shift? They already have. She produced her phone, showing messages confirming the transition. Money and fear are powerful motivators. Most of them prefer me to my father anyway. I'm more reasonable. A small smile touched his lips. Reasonable isn't how I'd describe you right now. No? She raised an eyebrow. What would you call taking over a crime family at 25? Impressive. His eyes held genuine admiration. Terrifying. Exactly what I'd expect from you. The compliment warmed something inside her that had been cold since her confrontation with her father. This man, this enemy turned ally turned something much more, saw her strength and respected it. The banker? She asked, refocusing. Luca's expression darkened. Dead. Apparent suicide last night. Convenient timing. Very. He pulled into traffic. Someone's tying up loose ends. Someone who knows we're getting close. The implications hung between them. Carlo had been working with someone beyond either family. Someone powerful enough to stay hidden, to eliminate witnesses before they could talk. What's our next move? Luca asked. Valentina stared out at the city passing by, her city now, in many ways. Her empire. Her responsibility. We find the truth, she decided. All of it. No matter who it hurts. His hand found hers across the console, warm and solid. Together? The question contained layers. Were they partners in this investigation? Allies in the coming conflict? Something more personal, more dangerous? Together, she confirmed, linking her fingers with his. Whatever comes next. What came next, neither could have predicted. The message waiting on her phone when they reached the safe house. The photo attached. The ultimatum that would change everything. Asterisk your father or your lover. Choose one to save. You have 24 hours, asterisk. The image showed 2 locations. 2 traps set and waiting. The game had just changed again. Chapter 17. It's a trap. Lucas studied the photos on Valentina's phone. Both locations. They want to draw us out. Obviously. Valentina paced the safe house living room. But who's they? My father is under guard at the hospital until his transfer. Your uncle would have signed the message if it was from him. Carlo had partners. People above him, remember? The lieutenant's final words echoed between them. People they didn't know about. A larger conspiracy than either had imagined. We need to think strategically. Valentina stopped pacing. This isn't about my father or you. It's about control. Someone wants me off balance, making emotional decisions. So we don't play their game. Luca's voice hardened. We change the rules. She nodded, mind racing. We need to secure my position first. Make it unassailable. How? By calling a meeting. Determination filled her. All captains. All lieutenants. Today. The Moretti family's main meeting room hadn't seen a full gathering in years. 27 men filled the space, tension crackling as Valentina entered. Luca remained outside, his presence would complicate matters. Gentlemen. She took her place at the head of the table, where her father had sat for decades. Thank you for coming on short notice. Murmurs rippled through the room. These men had worked for her father, some had known her since childhood. Now they looked at her with varying degrees of respect, wariness, and in a few cases, thinly veiled hostility. Don Moretti is being transferred to a private facility for his recovery, she began. His health requires extended rest. During this time, I will continue leading our family's interests. For how long? Asked Vito, one of the older captains. Your father may never fully recover. She kept her voice firm. His heart is weak. The doctors advise against stress. Against returning to business matters. More murmurs, more exchanged glances. In his absence, certain changes are necessary. Valentina nodded to her most trusted guard, who distributed folders to each man. Inside you'll find new territories, new responsibilities, and new compensation packages. The men opened the folders, eyes widening at the contents. She'd spent the morning restructuring the entire organization, promoting loyal captains, neutralizing potential threats with golden handcuffs, creating a power structure with herself firmly at the center. These changes take effect immediately, she continued. Those who accept their new positions will find their first bonus already in their accounts. Those who don't. She let the implication hang. No threat was necessary. These men understood how power worked. Any questions? Silence fell. Then Frankie, her father's oldest captain, slowly stood. The Romano situation, he said carefully. What's our position? The real question beneath the surface, would she continue her father's vendetta? The blood feud that had defined Moretti policy for decades? Times change, she replied. I'm pursuing diplomatic options with certain Romano interests. Exploring mutual benefits. Shock rippled through the room. Some men looked appalled, others relieved. The endless war had cost both families dearly. Your father would never, Vito began. My father isn't here. She cut him off coldly. I am. And I've seen enough blood spilled over ancient grudges. She stood, signaling the meeting's end. Those who can adapt to this new direction will thrive. Those who can't should tender their resignations. Now. No one moved. No one resigned. Power, properly wielded, was its own argument. As the men filed out, each stopping to kiss her hand, a gesture of respect once reserved for her father, Valentina felt the weight of leadership settling on her shoulders. Not a burden, but an armor. Only when the room emptied did she finally exhale. Well played. Elena stepped from the adjoining office where she'd been listening. They respect you now. They might even fear you a little. Fear isn't enough. Valentina sank into her chair. I need loyalty. Especially with what comes next. Elena perched on the edge of the table. Which is? Finding out who sent that message. Who's really been pulling the strings. She rubbed her temples. Carlo was working with someone powerful enough to stay hidden while he did the dirty work. And you think it's someone in one of the families? Or connected to both? Valentina stood, decision made. I need a meeting with Salvatore Romano. Elena's eyes widened. Is that wise? After Staten Island? It's necessary. Valentina moved toward the door. And this time, I'll be the one setting the terms. The message to Salvatore Romano was simple: meet or face exposure. The evidence Valentina possessed could demolish what remained of the Romano family's legitimate businesses. Could send key members to prison for decades. He agreed to meet at neutral ground, a private dining room at an exclusive Manhattan restaurant. No weapons. 2 guards each, waiting outside. When Valentina arrived, Salvatore was already seated, looking less comfortable than at their previous encounter. You have your father's flair for drama, he remarked as she took her seat. Though he preferred threats to blackmail. I prefer results to either. She signaled the waiter to leave them. We have a mutual problem. Besides your continued existence? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Someone is targeting both our families. Someone who worked with Carlo, but remained hidden. She studied his reaction. Someone who sent me this. She showed him the message on her phone. Salvatore's expression changed slightly as he read it, surprise, then calculation. Interesting. He handed the phone back. And you think I know who sent it? I think if you don't, you should be very concerned. She leaned forward. Because someone has been playing us against each other. Using our hatred to advance their own agenda. A pretty theory. He sipped his wine. But our families have been enemies since before Carlo Vannucci was born. Yes. Since my mother died. She held his gaze. Since Isabella Romano was taken from both our families. Surprise flickered across his face. You know more than I thought. I know that my mother was your cousin. That I carry Romano blood. She kept her voice steady. That this war has cost both our families too much already. Salvatore studied her with new interest. What exactly are you proposing? An alliance. Temporary, focused on finding who's behind these threats. She laid out her terms. A truce between our families. Combined resources to investigate. Shared information. And Luca? His eyes narrowed. My nephew has clearly chosen his loyalty. Luca has chosen to break the cycle of revenge. To find justice instead. She met his gaze directly. I'm offering you the same choice. For a long moment, Salvatore simply observed her, weighing options, calculating risks and benefits. Finally, he nodded. A temporary alliance. Against this unknown threat only. His voice hardened. But Luca remains a problem. He betrayed his family, his blood. He chose something more important than blind loyalty. Valentina stood. The truth. Truth is a luxury in our world. Salvatore rose as well. One we rarely can afford. Then perhaps it's time we created a new world. She extended her hand. Do we have an agreement? After a moment's hesitation, he shook it. We have an agreement, Ms. Moretti. God help us both. Midnight found Valentina and Luca in her father's study, reviewing everything they knew, searching for connections they might have missed. You took a risk, Luca said, concern evident in his voice. Meeting Salvatore alone. I calculated one. She studied a map of family territories. We need his resources. His knowledge. You can't trust him. I don't. She looked up, meeting his eyes. The only person I trust completely is you. And maybe Elena. The admission hung between them, weighted with everything they'd survived together. The lies, the revelations, the impossible choice to put each other above family loyalty. Salvatore will betray you the moment it serves him, Luca warned. I'm counting on it. A grim smile touched her lips. That's why I have insurance. Her phone rang, Elena, calling from the security room downstairs. Someone's here, her friend said without preamble. Someone you need to see. 5 minutes later, Valentina stared at the security monitors in disbelief. Standing at the gate, asking for entry, was her father's closest advisor. A man who should have been in Chicago on business. A man who had been conspicuously absent since Carlo's death. Let him in, she decided. But quietly alert security. This could be a distraction. When the advisor was shown into the study, Valentina received him alone, Luca watching from a hidden observation room. Joseph. She greeted him with practiced warmth. This is unexpected. Forgive the late hour. The older man looked haggard, nervous. But I had to see you. To warn you. About? Your father. The Romano family. All of it. He glanced around, lowering his voice. What I'm about to tell you puts my life at risk. But you deserve to know the truth. For the next 30 minutes, Valentina listened as decades of secrets unraveled. The real power structure behind both families. The shadowy council that had orchestrated key events, including her mother's death. It wasn't an accident, Joseph explained, voice breaking. It wasn't the Romanos. It was the council. They saw Isabella and Antonio's marriage as a threat to the balance. To their control. The council. Valentina kept her expression neutral despite her racing heart. Who exactly are they? 5 families. Older than the Morettis, older than the Romanos. Joseph's hands trembled. They don't operate directly. They manipulate, influence, maintain the status quo. And Carlo worked for them. We all did, in a way. Without knowing it. His eyes pleaded for understanding. Your father discovered the truth years ago. Has been planning his revenge ever since. But they're too powerful. Why tell me this now? Because they're coming for you next. Fear laced his words. They see you as unpredictable. Dangerous. Your alliance with Luca Romano threatens everything they've built. Valentina leaned forward. Names, Joseph. I need names. He slid a flash drive across the desk. Everything I know is here. Bank accounts. Front companies. Their methods of communication. As she reached for it, his expression turned anguished. I'm sorry, Valentina. For all of it. For my part. Your part in what? In keeping you in the dark. In letting them use you as a pawn. He stood, backing toward the door. I should have told you sooner. Should have helped your father when he tried to break free. It's not too late. She rose as well. We can work together. Expose them. It's already too late for me. Joseph's hand moved inside his jacket. They know I'm here. They're watching. Before she could react, he withdrew not a weapon, but a small pill. No, she began, lunging forward. But Joseph was faster, swallowing the pill with practiced efficiency. Run, Valentina. Take what's on that drive and disappear. It's the only way you'll survive. His body convulsed once, violently, before he collapsed to the floor. Luca burst into the room, gun drawn, as security rushed in behind him. But Joseph was already gone, the poison working with brutal efficiency. What the hell just happened? Luca demanded, checking for a pulse and finding none. Valentina clutched the flash drive, mind racing. We just discovered who's really been running things. And why they want us both dead. She turned to her security chief. Lock down the estate. Double the guards. No one enters or leaves without my direct approval. What about him? The chief nodded toward Joseph's body. Get rid of it. Her voice turned cold. And prepare for war. As the men carried out her orders, Lucas studied her with concern. You're not thinking of fighting this council, are you? If they're as powerful as he claimed. I'm not fighting them. Valentina's expression hardened into resolve. I'm burning their whole system to the ground. Chapter 18. The safe house was a lakeside cabin in Vermont, purchased through so many shell companies that even the most determined investigator would struggle to connect it to either the Moretti or Romano families. 3 weeks had passed since Joseph's suicide. 3 weeks of careful planning, of disappearing without truly vanishing. Valentina had staged her own accident, a yacht explosion in the Hamptons, reported bodies never recovered. The world believed Valentina Moretti was dead. The council believed their problem had been solved. It was exactly what she wanted them to think. Anything? She asked as Luca entered the cabin, shaking snow from his coat. Supply drop arrived at the dead drop. He set down groceries and a package. And this from Elena. The package contained new identities, banking information, and a secure laptop. Elena remained their only contact with the outside world, the only person they trusted completely. She's also sent an update. Luca booted up the laptop. Your father has been released from the hospital. He's taken control of what's left of the Moretti operations. And the Romano side? Salvatore is maintaining the truce, surprisingly. Luca's expression darkened. Though he's still offering a reward for information on my whereabouts. Valentina moved to the window, watching snow fall on the frozen lake. The council believes they've won. That we're dead or running scared. Giving us time to plan our next move. Luca joined her, hands resting on her shoulders. The question is, what exactly is that move? She leaned back against him, drawing strength from his solid presence. We expose them. All of them. Their connections, their operations, their crimes. And how exactly do we do that without ending up like Joseph? It was a fair question. The council had remained in power for generations by eliminating threats before they materialized. By working from the shadows, maintaining plausible deniability. We use their own methods against them. Valentina turned to face him. Divide and conquer. Turn them against each other. Lucas studied her with a mixture of admiration and concern. You've given this a lot of thought. I've had nothing but time to think. She moved to the table where Joseph's flash drive had yielded its secrets. 5 families. 5 power centers. Each with their own interests, their own weak points. The files were spread across the surface, financial records, blackmail material, evidence of decades of manipulation. The Castelli family controls shipping across the eastern seaboard. She pointed to one file. The Vega family handles political connections. The Zhangs manage international financial transactions. The Petrov family supplies weapons and manpower. And the Blackwoods provide legitimate cover through their corporate empire. Together, they're untouchable, Luca observed. But individually. Exactly. Determination filled her voice. We target them one by one. Create conflicts between their interests. Force them into the open. Luca moved to the table, examining the files. It's a good plan. But dangerous. If they realize we're alive, that we're behind it, they'll come for us. She met his gaze steadily. I know the risks. His hand covered hers. We know the risks. The correction warmed something inside her that had been cold since they fled New York. This man who had entered her life as an enemy had become her partner in every sense. Her confidant. Her strength. We'll need help, she admitted. People we can trust. A short list. Luca's smile was grim. Elena, obviously. But beyond her? Valentina considered this. My father is compromised. Has been for years, apparently. Working with the council? Or against them in his own way? She frowned. Either way, we can't trust him with this. What about your captains? The ones loyal to you? She shook her head. Too risky. If the council has infiltrated both our families for generations, anyone could be their eyes and ears. Then we're on our own. Luca's voice was matter of fact. Just the 3 of us against the 5 most powerful criminal enterprises in the country. Put that way, it sounded impossible. Foolhardy even. But Valentina had been underestimated her entire life, by her father, by Carlo, by everyone who saw a pampered mafia princess instead of a strategic mind. I've faced worse odds, she said with a small smile. Have you? Luca raised an eyebrow. When? When I fell for the man sent to kill me. Her hand came up to touch his face. Survival didn't seem likely then either. Something softened in his eyes. We survived that. We'll survive this. Promise? The question slipped out, more vulnerable than she intended. Instead of answering, Luca pulled her into his arms, his lips finding hers with gentle urgency. The kiss deepened, a silent vow between them. Whatever came next, they would face it together. When they broke apart, breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. I promise. The next morning brought their first real argument. It's too dangerous, Luca insisted, pacing the small kitchen. Let me go instead. I need to do this myself. Valentina continued packing a small overnight bag. The Blackwood woman will only meet with me. Woman to woman. It's a trap. It's an opportunity. She zipped the bag closed. Margaret Blackwood has been pushed out of her family's inner circle. She's vulnerable, angry, and has access to information we need. And if she reports back to the council? If they realize you're alive? She won't. Valentina's confidence was absolute. Because I have something she wants more than the council's approval. What's that? Her son. Valentina produced a file from her desk. The Blackwoods sent him away 15 years ago. Erased him from their lives when he refused to join the family business. She's been searching for him ever since. Understanding dawned on Luca's face. And you found him. Elena did. She nodded. He's living in Seattle. New name, new life. But still her son. Blackmail? Disapproval colored his tone. That makes us no better than them. Not blackmail. A good faith offering. Valentina's voice softened. She gets her son's location regardless of whether she helps us. But if she does help us, she also gets protection when everything falls apart. Lucas studied her, concern evident in his eyes. I still don't like you going alone. I won't be alone. She checked her weapon, tucking it into her waistband. Elena will be there, watching from a distance. And you'll be monitoring from here. He stepped closer, hands settling on her waist. 3 days. If you're not back in 3 days, you'll come charging in like a knight in shining armor? Her smile took the sting from the words. Exactly. He kissed her forehead. Be careful. Always am. The lie hung between them, acknowledged but accepted. In their world, caution was relative. Survival never guaranteed. Margaret Blackwood was not what Valentina expected. The matriarch of one of the council's founding families was small, elegant, with silver hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. They met in a private room at the Boston Public Library, neutral ground where both women felt relatively secure. You look well for a dead woman, Margaret remarked dryly as Valentina took the seat across from her. Reports of my demise were greatly exaggerated. Valentina matched her tone. Thank you for meeting me. Curiosity more than anything. The older woman studied her. The council believes they eliminated the Moretti Romano problem. Yet here you sit. The council has been wrong about many things over the years. Valentina produced a thin file. Including where to find your son. Margaret's composure cracked slightly, her hand trembling as she reached for the file. Michael? He goes by David now. Has a wife, 2 children. Valentina's voice softened. A good life. The older woman opened the file, eyes drinking in the photos of a man in his 30s, playing with children in a suburban backyard. Her finger traced his face. He has his father's smile. Margaret's voice trembled. They told me he died. A sailing accident. They lied. Valentina let that sink in. Just as they've lied about many things. Margaret closed the file, composure returning though her eyes remained bright with unshed tears. "What do you want from me, Ms. Moretti?" "Information. About the council. Their methods. Their weaknesses." Valentina leaned forward. "And eventually, your testimony." A harsh laugh escaped the older woman. "Testimony? To whom?" "There's no authority higher than the council in our world." "Not in our world, perhaps. But in the legitimate world?" "Absolutely." Valentina held her gaze. "The FBI would be very interested in what you know." Fear flashed across Margaret's face. "You're talking about bringing down the entire system. Exposing everyone. Including yourself." "I'm talking about justice." Valentina's voice hardened. "For my mother. For Luca's brother. For everyone who's been sacrificed to maintain the council's power. You're either very brave or very foolish." Margaret studied her with new interest. "Perhaps both." "I'm pragmatic." Valentina sat back. "The old ways are dying. The council's control is slipping. We can either go down with it or build something new from the ashes." For a long moment, Margaret simply observed her, weighing options, calculating risks. Finally, she nodded. "I'll help you. Not for your crusade, but for my son." Her eyes hardened. "But understand this, if you betray me, if anything happens to Michael or his family because of this, there will be nowhere on earth you can hide from me." The threat wasn't empty. Even separated from her family's power, Margaret Blackwood radiated dangerous capability. "I understand." Valentina extended her hand. "We have a deal." As they shook on it, something shifted in the air between them, not friendship, not trust exactly, but recognition. Two women who had survived in a man's world by being smarter, more patient, more strategic than those around them. Two women who had lost too much to the system they were now conspiring to destroy. When Valentina returned to the cabin 2 days later, she found Luca on the front porch, gun in hand, tension evident in every line of his body. "You're late," he said, relief flooding his face as he pulled her into his arms. "Traffic." She melted into his embrace, the stress of the past days dissolving at his touch. "But successful." Inside, she spread Margaret Blackwood's information across the table, meeting schedules, blackmail material, financial vulnerabilities for each council family. "She's been gathering this for years," Valentina explained, excitement coloring her voice. "Waiting for the right moment to use it." Luca examined the documents, impressed despite his reservations. "This is comprehensive. And our way in." She pointed to a particular date. "The council meets in person quarterly. The next meeting is in 3 weeks, at the Castelli estate in the Hamptons. You want to go after all 5 families at once?" Disbelief colored his tone. "That's suicide." "Not all at once. One by one, with the dominoes carefully arranged." She met his gaze. "But we need to move quickly. Margaret warned me that there are rumors circulating. Whispers that we might still be alive." Concern crossed his face. "How much time do we have?" "Not enough. Never enough." She sank into a chair, suddenly exhausted. "But more than we had yesterday." Luca moved behind her, hands massaging her tense shoulders. "We should relocate. This place may be compromised. Tomorrow." She leaned into his touch. "Tonight, I just need." "What?" His voice softened. "You." She turned, pulling him down to her level. "Just you. Just us. Before everything changes again." Understanding filled his eyes. They had been so focused on survival, on plans and counterplans, that moments of genuine connection had become rare. Precious. Just us, he agreed, lifting her into his arms. Everything else can wait until morning. As he carried her toward the bedroom, Valentina felt a moment of perfect clarity amidst the chaos of their lives. Whatever came next, whether they succeeded in bringing down the council or died trying, they had found something neither had expected. Something worth fighting for. Worth dying for, if necessary. Something that was just theirs, untouched by family names or blood feuds or generations of hatred. Something real. Chapter 19. The Castelli estate sprawled across 20 acres of prime Hampton's real estate, old money elegance mixed with state-of-the-art security. Guards patrolled the perimeter. Cameras covered every approach. Even the airspace above was monitored for drones. It was, by all accounts, impenetrable. Which was why Valentina and Luca weren't trying to break in. Status? Valentina asked, adjusting her earpiece as their car approached the main gate. All systems operational. Elena's voice came through clearly. Receiving feed from all 5 cameras. Audio is clean. Margaret? Luca checked his watch. In position. Elena confirmed. She's been inside for 20 minutes. The other council members are arriving now. Valentina nodded, satisfied. 3 weeks of planning, of careful positioning, had brought them to this moment. The council's quarterly meeting, and their downfall. The guard at the gate examined their invitation, then waved them through. Their cover was solid, representatives from a European investment group the Castellis had been courting. The real representatives had been delayed by a convenient flight cancellation. Remember the plan, Valentina murmured as they approached the mansion. We're observers, not participants. Plant the devices, then leave before the real meeting starts. Luca squeezed her hand. I remember. His touch anchored her, calming the adrenaline coursing through her veins. So much could go wrong. So many variables beyond their control. But they had planned for contingencies, had backup plans for their backup plans. And they had something the council didn't expect, Margaret Blackwood's cooperation. A butler greeted them at the entrance, directing them to a reception area where other guests mingled. Pre-meeting cocktails, a facade of normalcy before the real business began. Mr. and Mrs. Visconti. The host approached, extending his hand. Antonio Castelli. We're delighted you could join us. The pleasure is ours. Luca shook his hand, the perfect businessman. Your reputation precedes you. As they exchanged pleasantries, Valentina scanned the room. 5 council families, each represented by their patriarchs or matriarchs, plus key lieutenants. 23 targets in total, all gathered in one place. The restroom, she asked a passing server, excusing herself with a smile. Once alone in the powder room, she quickly planted the first listening device behind a decorative sconce. The cameras sewn into her earrings were already transmitting to Elena. First device active, Elena confirmed in her ear. Crystal clear. When Valentina returned to the reception, Luca had moved to the bar, engaging a Petrov lieutenant in conversation about import tariffs. She circulated separately, planting devices in strategic locations. Each successful placement brought them closer to their goal. You seem familiar. A voice behind her made Valentina freeze momentarily. She turned to find Salvatore Romano studying her with narrowed eyes. Her disguise was good, dark wig, colored contacts, subtle facial prosthetics, but Salvatore had known her, had looked into her eyes across a negotiating table. I don't believe we've met. She altered her voice slightly, adding a hint of European accent. I would remember. Perhaps not. His suspicion remained. You remind me of someone. A woman who disappeared recently. I've been told I have one of those faces. She smiled blandly. If you'll excuse me, I see my husband waving. Before Salvatore could press further, Antonio Castelli clinked his glass for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. The meeting will begin shortly. Those here for the primary discussion, please proceed to the library. Other guests, please enjoy the refreshments and grounds. The separation, council members from legitimate business associates, was beginning. Their window was closing. Luca appeared at her side, hand at the small of her back. Everything okay? Salvatore recognized something about me, she murmured. We need to move quickly. As the crowd shifted, they slipped down a side hallway toward the library. Elena had provided detailed floor plans for Margaret's information. They knew exactly where the council would meet and how to monitor it. Last device, Valentina whispered, placing it above the library door. We're set. Then we leave, Luca reminded her. That was the plan. But plans rarely survived first contact with reality. As they turned to go, voices approached from around the corner. Council members heading to the meeting. In here. Luca pulled her into a small study adjacent to the library. They pressed against the wall beside the door, listening as footsteps passed. All devices active, Elena reported in their ears. I'm receiving everything. The plan was working. With the surveillance network in place, they would have hours of incriminating conversations. Evidence to leak to authorities. Leverage to use against individual council members. They had succeeded. They could leave. Let's go, Luca whispered, checking the hallway. But Valentina hesitated, an idea forming. What if we could get more? The physical evidence Margaret mentioned, financial records, blackmail material. She said it would be in Antonio's safe during the meeting. Too risky. Luca's eyes narrowed. We got what we came for. We might not get another chance. The opportunity was too perfect. You go. I'll meet you at the extraction point in 30 minutes. Absolutely not. His voice was firm. Together or not at all. Before they could argue further, the study door opened. A security guard stood in the doorway, hand moving to his weapon. You're not supposed to be in here. His eyes narrowed in suspicion. IDs, now. Luca moved smoothly, disarming the guard before he could draw his gun. A quick, efficient strike rendered him unconscious. So much for the quiet approach, Valentina muttered, helping Luca drag the guard behind a desk. The clock's ticking now. Their choices had narrowed, try to escape immediately, or push forward with the original mission. Risk versus reward. Antonio's office, Luca decided, surprising her. 5 minutes. Not a second more. They moved quickly through the mansion, avoiding staff and guests. Antonio's private office was locked, but Elena had prepared them for that too. A small electronic device defeated the keypad in seconds. Inside, Valentina went straight to the painting Elena had identified, a Monet that concealed a wall safe. For minutes, Luca warned, taking position by the door. The safe's combination had been harder to acquire. Margaret had provided the first 3 numbers, but the final 2 would require Valentina's touch. Antonio changes the last digits weekly, Elena explained through the earpiece. Based on patterns, it's likely 3 to 9 or 4 to 1 this week. Valentina tried the first combination. Nothing. The second, a soft click rewarded her. I'm in. She pulled the safe open, finding exactly what they'd hoped for: USB drives, ledgers, a small stack of microfilm. 3 minutes, Luca reminded her, tension evident in his voice. She worked quickly, photographing documents, transferring data from the drives to a device Elena had provided. So much evidence, so many secrets exposed. Valentina. Luca's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. Someone's coming. She closed the safe, replaced the painting, pocketed the copied evidence. They had what they came for, more than they'd expected. But escape had just become considerably more complicated. Footsteps approached outside. Multiple sets. Guards, most likely, alerted by their missing colleague. Back door. Luca pointed to a second entrance that connected to an adjoining room. Now. They slipped through, finding themselves in a small sitting room. Outside the window, they could see guards converging on the main house. The alarm had been raised. Elena, Valentina whispered. "We need a distraction." "Working on it." Their friend's voice was tense. "Head for the east exit. I'm triggering the fire alarm in 30 seconds. They moved quickly through the mansion, using the building's layout to avoid security. When the alarm blared, the resulting chaos provided perfect cover. Staff and guests moved toward exits, security scrambled to determine if the threat was real. In the confusion, they slipped out a service entrance, making their way toward the perimeter where their backup vehicle waited. Freedom was just beyond the tree line, 100 yards away. "Stop right there." The voice froze them both. Salvatore Romano stood blocking their path, gun raised. Two of his men flanked him, similarly armed. I knew something was familiar. His eyes fixed on Valentina. "The disguise is good, but not good enough." She straightened, dropping the accent. "Hello, Salvatore. This isn't what it looks like." "No?" His smile was cold. "It looks like my traitorous nephew and his Moretti whore infiltrating a council meeting. Stealing council property. We're exposing corruption that affects all our families," Luca countered, shifting slightly to shield Valentina. "Including yours." "Noble." Salvatore's tone suggested otherwise. "But the council has kept order for generations. Without them, we descend into chaos." "The kind of order that murdered my mother?" Valentina challenged. "That killed Marco and Nico? That's not order. It's tyranny." Salvatore's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand the bigger picture." "I understand perfectly." She held his gaze. "You're as much their puppet as my father was. Following orders, maintaining their power while believing you have your own." Anger flashed across his face. "Enough. Give me what you've taken, and perhaps I'll make your deaths quick." The standoff stretched, tense and fragile. 3 guns against 2 people with no cover, no chance of outrunning bullets. "Uncle," Luca tried one last time. "This system has cost both our families too much already. Help us end it." For a moment, just a moment, something like doubt crossed Salvatore's face. Then it hardened into resolve. "I'm sorry, nephew." He raised his gun. "But the old ways are all we have." What happened next unfolded in heartbeats. As Salvatore's finger tightened on the trigger, Luca moved, not away from danger, but directly into it. Pushing Valentina behind him, shielding her with his body as shots rang out. The impact drove him backward against her. She caught him, feeling warm wetness spreading across his chest. "No!" she screamed, lowering him to the ground. "Luca!" More shots echoed, but not from Salvatore's gun. The Romano men fell, taken down by precise fire from the tree line. Elena had brought backup after all. Salvatore himself stared in shock as a red stain bloomed on his shirt front. He dropped to his knees, then fell forward onto the manicured lawn. "Luca." Valentina cradled his head, applying pressure to the wound in his chest. "Stay with me. Please stay with me." His eyes found hers, pain clouding them. "Did I keep my promise?" "Yes," she choked out, tears blurring her vision. "But you have to keep fighting. We're almost out. Almost safe." Elena appeared beside them, face grim. "The extraction team is 1 minute out. Helicopter to a private medical facility. Hear that?" Valentina stroked Luca's face. "Help is coming. Just hold on." His hand found hers, grip weaker than it should be. The evidence? Safe. She pressed her forehead to his. We did it. We got everything we needed. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Worth it, then. Don't you dare. She gripped his shirt. Don't you dare talk like that. We're in this together, remember? Together or not at all. The sound of helicopter blades cut through the air. Medical personnel rushed toward them, gently moving Valentina aside to work on Luca. She watched, numb, as they stabilized him, loaded him onto a stretcher. He's lost a lot of blood, one medic told her. But the bullet missed his heart. If we get him to surgery quickly. Maybe. Chance. Not certainty. As they lifted Luca into the helicopter, Valentina felt Elena's arm around her shoulders. He'll make it, her friend said firmly. He's too stubborn to die. Valentina nodded, unable to speak past the knot in her throat. As she climbed into the helicopter beside Luca's stretcher, she clutched the evidence they'd risked everything to obtain. It had to be worth it. Had to be enough to bring down the system that had taken so much from them both. Because if Luca died for this, died protecting her, she wouldn't just expose the council. She would burn their entire world to the ground. Chapter 20. 1 year later. The rooftop garden of the Morgan Hotel offered the best view in Manhattan, and complete privacy. Valentina Moretti watched the sunset paint the city skyline gold, a glass of wine untouched beside her. 1 year since the Hamptons. 1 year since everything changed. The evidence they'd gathered at the Castelli estate had been devastating. Financial records, blackmail material, recordings of the council planning assassinations and political manipulation, all leaked strategically to federal authorities, international agencies, and select journalists. The resulting storm had swept away power structures that had stood for generations. 3 council families were destroyed completely, their patriarchs arrested, their assets seized. The Blackwoods survived only because Margaret had cooperated, providing witness testimony in exchange for immunity. The Castellis had scattered, disappearing into witness protection or exile. And in the chaos, Valentina had built something new. Ms. Moretti. Her assistant appeared at her elbow. Your 4 o'clock is here. Send them up. She smiled. And take the rest of the afternoon off, Thomas. Alone again, Valentina straightened her tailored jacket. The Moretti Foundation had expanded dramatically in the past year, its legitimate businesses thriving under her leadership. The criminal enterprises continued too, of course, but transformed, modernized, streamlined, controlled entirely from the shadows. The elevator door opened, and her heart quickened as a familiar figure stepped onto the rooftop. Luca. He looked different from the man who had entered her life as an assassin. Healthier, somehow lighter, though the scar visible at his collar served as a permanent reminder of how close she'd come to losing him. You're late, she called, not moving from her seat. Traffic. His smile was the same, that rare, genuine expression that transformed his face. Some things never change. When he reached her, she stood, allowing herself to be pulled into his embrace. Public displays of affection were rare for them, too dangerous even now. But here, in this private sanctuary, she melted against him, inhaling the scent that meant safety. Home. I've missed you, she murmured against his neck. It's been 3 weeks. His arms tightened around her. Too long. Necessary. She pulled back slightly. The Milan negotiations were delicate. Luca nodded, understanding in his eyes. The new alliance they'd built between former Moretti and Romano territories required constant attention. Especially with Salvatore gone and her father effectively neutralized, alive but confined to that upstate facility, powerless beyond his small circle of loyal retainers. Successful, I take it? He settled into the chair across from her. Very. She poured him a glass of wine. The European distribution networks are secure. Elena is overseeing implementation. Business first, always. The habit of caution ran deep in both of them. And your side? She asked. The charity is expanding. Pride colored his voice. 3 new centers opening next month. The federal grant came through. His transformation had been the most surprising. Luca Romano, once feared hitman, now ran one of the East Coast's largest youth rehabilitation nonprofits. A legitimate operation that gave second chances to kids caught in the system. A redemption of sorts. For both of them. I have something for you. Valentina reached into her bag, producing a small wrapped package. Consider it an anniversary gift. Luca raised an eyebrow. Anniversary? 1 year since you took a bullet for me. Her voice softened. Since everything changed. He unwrapped the package carefully, revealing a vintage pocket watch. Opening it, he found an inscription inside the cover, "What's real remains." It's beautiful. His voice roughened. Thank you. She covered his hand with hers. I have news as well. Something in her tone made him look up sharply. Good news or bad? Unexpected. She took a breath. I'm pregnant. The words hung between them, momentous and fragile. They hadn't planned this. Had barely discussed a future beyond their careful, separate lives, him in Boston with his charity, her in New York with her empire, meeting when they could. Loving in the shadows. Pregnant, he repeated, processing. How long? 8 weeks. She watched his face carefully. I only confirmed it yesterday. For a long moment, Lucas simply stared at her, emotions playing across his features too quickly to read. Then, to her surprise, he smiled, a full, unreserved smile that reached his eyes. A child. He rose, pulling her to her feet. Our child. Relief flooded her. You're happy about this? Aren't you? His hands framed her face. Terrified, she admitted. But yes, happy too. If you are. His kiss was answer enough, tender at first, then deepening with all the emotion words couldn't express. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. We'll need to be careful, he cautioned. There are still enemies out there. People who would use this against us. I know. She had already been planning, calculating risks, contingencies. But we've faced worse. Much worse. His hand moved to rest gently on her still flat stomach. A Moretti Romano child. Who would have imagined? The ultimate alliance. Her smile turned wry. My father would have a second heart attack. And my uncle would roll in his grave. Luca's expression sobered. Which raises the question, how do we do this? Continue living separate lives? Or? The unfinished question contained so many possibilities. So many risks. I've been thinking about that. Valentina led him to the edge of the rooftop, overlooking the city that had shaped them both. About the future. What kind of world we want for our child. A safer one than we had, Luca said immediately. Yes, but how? She turned to face him. We've built something important this past year. Something balanced. The old families follow our lead, respect our boundaries. From a distance. His eyes held understanding of what she wasn't saying. With you in New York and me in Boston. The separation gives us both protection. Plausible deniability. She took his hands. But I don't want to raise our child like that. Apart. In the shadows. What are you suggesting? A new arrangement. Determination filled her voice. We transfer more operations to Elena. Move the remaining, sensitive businesses further from direct connection to either of us. Go legitimate? Surprise colored his tone. As legitimate as people like us can ever be. She smiled slightly. We keep oversight of the empire, but from further away. Create a life that's just ours. It was a radical proposal. A fundamental reshaping of the careful system they'd built from the ashes of the council's fall. But Valentina had been planning this for weeks, running scenarios, identifying successors. Where would we go? Luca asked, considering. Anywhere. Everywhere. Possibilities stretched before them. Europe perhaps. Or the West Coast. Somewhere we can be just Valentina and Luca. Not Moretti and Romano. Just us, he echoed, a hint of wonder in his voice. And our child. A family. The word felt strange on her tongue. Foreign yet right. A real one. Luca's expression turned serious. There would still be danger. Still be enemies. Always. She acknowledged this truth. But we've survived everything thrown at us so far. We'll face whatever comes next the same way. Together, he finished for her. Together. As the sun set over Manhattan, casting long shadows across the city that had witnessed their transformation from enemies to lovers to partners, Luca drew something from his pocket. I had a different plan for this, he said, opening a small velvet box. More romantic. Less practical. Inside lay a ring, a simple diamond set in platinum, elegant without ostentation. Is this a proposal? She asked, heart racing despite herself. It's a promise. He held her gaze. That whatever future we build, empire or family or both, we build it together. No more shadows between us. Valentina studied the man before her, once her designated killer, now the father of her child. The man who had saved her life, who had helped her tear down generations of corruption, who looked at her as an equal in all things. Yes, she said simply, allowing him to slide the ring onto her finger. No more shadows. Later, as they stood embracing at the edge of the rooftop, city lights sparkling below them like earthbound stars, Valentina thought about the long, twisted path that had brought them here. The violence and betrayal. The unexpected connection that had defied family loyalty and blood feuds. They had entered each other's lives as predator and prey, pawns in a game controlled by others. Had transformed into reluctant allies, then passionate lovers. Had nearly lost everything before finding their way to this moment. What are you thinking? Luca murmured against her hair. Valentina smiled, leaning into his solid warmth. That some fires don't destroy. They forge instead. He understood, as he always did. From enemies to this. To everything, she corrected, turning in his arms to face him. And whatever comes next. The kingdom they had built from the ashes of the old world would continue, evolving under their distant guidance. But their real victory, their true legacy, would be this new life they were creating. Together. Not as Moretti and Romano. Not as Heiress and Hitman. But as Valentina and Luca. Simply themselves, at last. The end.